Hey, Carl.
Hey, Todd.
Deborah says you're working on a fancy app or something?
Hold on. Not really working on it yet. I just don't know which cloud service to go with.
Well, I've got a cousin on my Queens side that swears by DigitalOcean. Says they're easy to use, have straightforward pricing, and really focus on making developers happy.
DigitalOcean, huh? I'm gonna check them out.
What the hell?
Dude, how are you doing that?
I'm not. This is actually expert bullet. Oh! The ropes! The ropes! Oh, and he had the match? Oh! Wait! He resigned when he could have won the piece! Now he can take the pawn G4. Oh, he's got the queen! He's gonna take the
whole queen.
Oh, the D6 pawn is hanging. And now rook H7. Wow, that was brilliant!
You glance over at your opponent's clock and wait a minute. I just need to make moves that don't hang pieces.
Oh, he hung a piece? You are the ultimate jinx. Oh no! This oh my gosh! Oh, how is he doing this? Welcome back to the Bullet Chess Championship presented by DigitalOcean. I'm Grandmaster Robert Hess. Alongside me today is FIDE Master Anamaya Kazarian. Anamaya, so glad to have you aboard today.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. Very happy to see y'all in the chat already. I'm really looking forward to today's matches. We have 4 amazing matches planned today. Let's have a look. What do we have today, Robert?
Yeah, I'm glad you've already brought the energy because it is bullet chess. We are going to have to be quick paced because the action doesn't stop for even a millisecond. And just to remind everybody of the format of this event. It is the Bullet Chess Championship main event. It is presented by DigitalOcean and it's 16 players. They started out this tournament in a double elimination format. And Anamaya, we were talking off air that the double elimination format is quite popular in many other games.
Exactly, yeah. We've seen in many other games in the esports scene that domination is very, very well known. It basically means that if you lose your match, you go to the losers bracket and you still have a chance to win the entire event. So everybody that lost the match already still has a chance, but today we will be looking at the winners bracket.
That's right, because these players have won their first round matchup. It is 30-minute matches where there's a break 15 minutes in so the players can reset. And well, you mentioned we have 4 great matches ahead, Anamaya. Our first one is Ray Robson taking on none other than Daniel Naroditsky.
Yeah, it's a really exciting matchup. 2 very big names. We know that Ray Robson is a very well known for his the puzzle genius. Basically, he's super good at everything related to puzzles. He's the puzzle battle world champion, and you know everything related to puzzles. It's his thing. And obviously, he's also very good at bullet. And we also have Daniel Naroditsky. He's obviously well known to the audience. Also very strong bullet player. So I'm really looking forward to the amazing match. Robert, do you have a favorite here?
As a human being or in this particular bullet match?
I would say from a chess player point of view, who do you think has the biggest chance?
Well, I was going to say they're both exceptional human beings, fantastic chess players. Daniel Naroditsky has been the highest rated bullet player on the site, so I'll give him the slight nod, but he himself has said that it is dependent on the day. Sometimes you're just not in great form. Your opponent is in even better shape, just finding everything in their last seconds. So I would say that Danya has to be the slight favorite, but you've mentioned, Anamaya, that Ray Robson, that's the puzzle battle champion for multiple years running.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm really looking forward to an amazing match and a very close one too.
For sure. And we'll have 3 exceptional matches to follow those. Just remind everybody of the bracket, how the players made their way through to these winners bracket quarterfinals. Daniel Naroditsky beat Arjun Ergaisi by a surprising score of 13.5, 2.5. And Ray Robson, he made his way through Jordan van Forest with a score of 12-4. So lopsided matchups for both these two in their opening round.
Exactly, yeah. So it's going to be very promising, this match. And honestly, I'm very looking forward to a close match once again.
For sure. So as we see, it's not just about Ray and Danya today. We will have the other 3 matchups in the winners quarterfinals as well. Hikaru Nakamura, he is taking on Brandon Jacobson. Sedwani will be taking on Tuan, Minh, known as Wonderful Time. He's the only non-grandmaster in the field, but when it comes to bullet chess, oh, he is an absolute menace. And of course, we have Jacobson, Jose Martinez taking on Penguin GM Andrew Tang. So we just have 4 amazing matchups today, Anamaya.
Exactly, yeah. Those are some big names out here. They all won their first match. So I'm very looking forward to very exciting matches and very big time scrambles. But obviously, that's with bullets, so we cannot expect any less than that.
No, it's all we can expect. I know that Ray Robson's the puzzle world champion. I'm just puzzled by how anyone sees anything in bullet because it's nerve-wracking. You do not have so much time to work through the calculations, yet these 8 players who have won their first match, they're so exceptional in this format. And if you want more information on the event, you should go to go.chess.com/BCC 2022. That's where you can find all the information about this Bullet Chess Championship presented by DigitalOcean. And you can watch it on chess.com/events as well. But on that note, Anamaya and I are going to take a quick breather. We're going to get set here for the matchup between Daniel Naroditsky and Ray Robson. You will not want to miss even a second.
See you in a bit.
Hey, Todd. Deborah says you're working on a fancy app or something.
You know, hold on. Not really working on it yet. I just don't know which cloud service to go with.
Well, I've got a cousin on my queen's side that swears by DigitalOcean. Says they're easy to use, have straightforward pricing, and really focus on making developers happy.
DigitalOcean, huh? I'm gonna check them out.
What the hell?
Dude, how are you doing that?
I'm not.
Anamaya, here we have the insights between these two players, Ray Robson and Daniel Naroditsky. As we see, Danya has played 5,200 games of Bullet in the last year.
Yeah, that is absolutely crazy. What I also would like to point out is that the average accuracy of the players is about 80 to 81%, Robert. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, they are super accurate despite not having time to work through all the calculations. But I think what's also important to note here is that Danya does not get flagged very often, whereas when Ray loses, which is not often, he gets flagged a good percentage of the time.
Exactly, yeah, and that might hurt Ray Robson a lot here because I mean I think Danya is also perhaps slightly aware of this, so he definitely has an edge when it comes to the flag. Then, so I'm curious to see how Ray is gonna deal with that.
Well, he is speedy, he is sharp, but yes, he is going to have to watch out because Danya, when he gets into time scrambles, he is quicker than pretty much anyone on the planet. But you're right, with the 80, 81% accuracy, they both are going to find the necessary ways through the positions. And they look like they're super focused. I mean, we have them on camera here. You see that Danya, he looks like a boxer getting ready for a match.
Yeah, that is an amazing look there. We don't really see him that way in the broadcast, obviously.
Yeah, he's ready. He's taken off the polo, put on the boxing gloves, and for Ray Robson, he's actually in the middle of a classical chess tournament. He's playing in the St. Louis Classic. He's doing extremely well. He's won 2 games and drawn 5, if I'm up to date on the latest happenings there. So he's actually at his highest ever classical chess rating, which is, I believe, 2686 live. So he's nearing 2700. So he's in very good form.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing, and it's even more impressive to see him play in the Bullet the chess championship at the same time.
Yeah, who said that Bullet can't help your chess? Come on, all those coaches out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we should remind everybody to vote because we've been talking about the insights between the players. And make sure you vote in the chat on who you think will win. So type your pick in the chat right now as the match is about to get underway.
Yeah, make sure to get involved, everybody. We have the community polls going on for each match. So before every single match starts, you can vote for your favorite. So make sure to type in whether you're voting for Ray or Danya in the chat. And the match has started.
Here we go. And we have a Spanish, and both players are just moving at lightning speed. And Anamaya, knight b4, getting active for Danya.
Yeah, that looks very good. The knight is going to g3. Very typical in the Ruy Lopez to move the knight around towards g3 to perhaps start a kingside attack. But it's not so easy for white to start an attack because with the bishop on g7, it's very well defending everything very well.
That's right. And so there's a trade on e5, which means that the bishop on g7 isn't a very good piece. White has a little bit more space. And ooh, this is a bad trade for black. Now they're isolated pawns on the queen side.
Yeah, those are some really bad weaknesses for black, but it's not so easy for white to make use of them just now. Perhaps we're gonna see a c5 push happen. Not yet.
No, the king is quickly working its way towards the center, and I think that Danya paused for a little bit there, trying to figure out what's the configuration of pieces he needs, and Ray is doing the same. The knight's in c4, rook on d1. All of white's pieces are in great locations.
And Danya is just moving the king up and down. Oh, are we going to see repetition?
We are indeed.
This game ending in a draw. Wow.
So okay. It's first game in the books. It was a draw. Nothing too spicy, even though Raise the Spicy Caterpillar happened in that one. I think Danya, even though in a worse position, he was able to hold without too much difficulty there.
Very good one there. Obviously, Ray Robson's username is Spicy Caterpillar. So very good one. Oh, a tactic.
Whoa, is the rook coming up? Rook e3, rook h3. Take the lift. We're going up the board here for checkmate.
Oh, and how do you defend that?
Oh,
Ray
knight
plays
g6.
f6 with knight g6, and how do you deal with the threats? Knight takes e7.
Rook takes e7. Rook e7 first, because if rook takes, then you have queen h8 and you win the queen on d8.
Oh, what a beautiful tactic, and he misses it. Oh, it's so tough having those kind of tactics in such a short time control because you don't have much time to decide.
And what's Danya doing? He brought his rook to e1. He wants some kind of checkmate, but the king will always be able to slide f7.
Yeah, he's looking for a checkmate. I think bishop e5. He's trying to create some complications here. He's trying to open up the f file because then he can give a check on f3 once the king is on f7, but it's not looking clear. What is the follow-up?
Okay, so they might make a draw. A queen h7 played? Knight h8 check. Oh my goodness. The king would have to go to the e5. Knight h8. Bishop.
Where is the king going?
Oh my gosh, the king is trying to run. There's a back rank checkmate problem for white, but the king is in more danger. Look at this. He's just filling the c4 square. Now, where's the mate?
King is on d4.
He finally takes that queen. And if you take the rook, b1 equals queen. So this is wild.
This is absolutely amazing. Whoa, what is happening? There was 93. Oh no, yeah, maybe there was. I'm not sure. There's a lot happening. This b2 pawn is absolutely crazy. Okay, wow.
I think there's not enough time for Ray. That's the problem here. Is he's making great moves, but he only has 2 seconds left, and so Donnie's going to flag him.
Yeah, the position was absolutely wild, and suddenly both players were in a huge time scramble at the same time.
That was absurdity. And look at their ratings, by the way. Donnie now 32-15, Ray 31-81. So they're as level as it gets, at least heading into the match. But right now on the board, Danya is in a bad position with the black pieces once again. He's going to need to find a way to figure out what to do against these Ray Lopez positions.
Yeah, so, but the bishop on g4, the pin can be really annoying, so that's why Ray goes for queen d3, making sure the knight can move easily. This knight on h5 is not doing much, though. No,
it's not. Knight d5 now. Here it comes. The knight wants to come to f4, but as soon as it gets there, the bishop will likely just take it. It's not mandatory to take it, but look at this position. The c6 pawn in particular, protected by the d5 one. At some point, white can push the a pawn or go after the c7 pawn.
Yeah, Diana tried to push the h pawn to go h3, but now it's not possible anymore to open up the position on the king side. And yeah, it's not so easy for white to continue now because white had to defend the knight on e1.
There's this annoying pin. That's why the queen went to a6, but allowed the white king to escape. So the king always the h2 square. He gives up his a2 pawn, but he's attacking the bishop on f6 first. So that's the problem for black is you have a weakened king side.
Yeah, and Ray goes for the pawn, and I think the move was bishop takes h4 to get rid of that knight and making sure that you can try go for some perpetual here with the queens on the board.
Down goes f7, down goes f6, and as long as you don't, oh, wait a second, oh, this might be a draw. Queen d1, queen h5.
Maybe it is a perpetual.
Oh gosh. f3. I think you have to play f3 at some point, but Ray doesn't have time. So Danya is always ahead on the clock. It's something we haven't really spoken about, but in the 3 games we've seen so far, Danya's been up, 6 seconds or so in all of them.
Yeah, the games have been super interesting, and we barely even noticed the clock because the level of play is so high, and there's so much happening.
And Donna keeps sacrificing a pawn, right? This is in this opening, he's down a pawn right now, but he's getting his knights very active. So that's the thing is there's a blunder somewhere. This f7 pawn looks a bit loose. So maybe there's a tactic available. And c7 also.
Knight takes c7?
Maybe, yeah, like knight c7, knight f7 kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, but look,
yeah,
Ray
that looks really crazy. Those knights in the center, you don't see that often.
No, it's really hard to work out here because if you take on f6, the queen just takes back, and that may not be exactly what Danya wants. But now, knight c4, wait, this bishop's hanging on b7, so I took this bishop on f4.
They're playing so fast; it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and black has even material, but the bishop on c6 can be a monster. d6, a queen d6 takes the knight back. What a move!
Wow. Okay.
They're seeing everything.
Yeah, it's crazy. Queen d6 trying to trade off the queens.
But I don't mind. Look at the clock.
Yeah, Danya is up on time again, and he's gonna go for the flag. There is not much you can do here, for both sides. He's
gonna flag him, and it's king c4. You're trying to win a pawn. Rook d3, rook d5 happening, but black is ready to take on h4 and take that pawn. So. All right. Yeah,
Danya needs to be careful because the h pawn can be really nasty if it's able to push. For now, it can't, but it's getting really dangerous now for Danya. But he's still up on time.
He's gonna flag him. I'm telling you. I've seen enough Danya bullet. It doesn't matter if objectively he's losing. He is winning on the clock, and that is way more. He's gonna rook c5. He's gonna win this pawn. He's gonna flag him rook versus rook.
Exactly. Oh, are we going to rook versus rook? Okay, the pawn was not taken, so yeah, we're just gonna.
Oh, and he flags him king and pawn versus king.
That was very close to draw still, but yeah, there was still one pawn on the board, so very, very much flaggable still. And the score is now 3-1 for Danya.
Danya just too strong, and he's jumped out to a 3-1 lead. Ray, of course, can strike back at any moment here, but look at the clock in this game as well, Anamaya. It is now nearly a 10-second lead for Danya.
Yeah, the speed has been absolutely amazing. And this is exactly what you need in those matches. The speed is, in the end, what matters most. I mean, obviously, if you get checkmated early on, that's very, very upsetting. But at this level, you will not see that. You'll not see the early checkmate, and the clock, it will matter in the end.
Yeah, this position looks very passive for Black, but he's up a bunch of times. So even if there's going to be some tactic, maybe White will even win a little bit of material. But if you don't have the time to convert, then it was a meaningless extra pieces.
Exactly, yeah. So in this position, it's kind of a Marazzi type of Marazzi-Pine type of structure. All the pieces have been traded off besides the rooks. The c5 is really nice for Black, but how do you make use of this advantage with the open file?
Well, what White, that's why b4 is a nice move. White would have liked to get an outside pass pawn. Not possible now with this rook on a5, just staying right at this pawn here. And the position's closed. Danya's up time. That is not good for Ray's chances.
Oh, offering a rook trade, and
rook takes was probably winning before on c2.
Yeah.
Because you probably could have put f6 and then try to create a g5 outside pass pawn.
Oh, that is super hard to spot.
Yeah. And rook, okay, d5 is a good move. No, that way you're preventing pre-moves. Like d5 says no rook c4 for you. And the evaluation bar is going in White's favor, but look at the clock.
The clock is what matters here. Danya is up a couple of seconds, and those seconds, it looked like so much for Danya.
Yeah. It's just, at this point, doesn't matter what's happening on the board. As long as Danya can keep his speed up, he's going to win this game. But look at Ray. Ray's going really quickly, but the checks. And there's a win for Danya once more.
This must be the fastest match ever, because I'm seeing the moves just flying over the board. It's like, even with my eyes, I can follow.
No, that's the thing, right? Normally when we commentate, we're trying to give you all this instructive feedback about the position. Here, we're just like trying to keep up with every single move. And Danya in another game has advanced knights, but now it's even material rather than pawn sacrifice.
Yeah, the tactics they're seeing in such little time is absolutely out of this world. And their accuracy is also very, very incredible. So yeah, we're again in an end game. Everything is being traded off. Very typical in bullet games. But yeah, so far it seems very equal.
I'm going to sound like a broken record, but let's look at the clock. I mean, Danya's always up this kind of amount of time, and that's just really not good for Ray's chances. This position is equal. We know it. Maybe even Black at some point can try to be pesky, but you just can't do it when you don't have the clock.
Yeah, his speed is out of this world, absolutely. And bishop c6, he's attacking that pawn, and yeah, he had to give up on that pawn.
And knight f5 would have won another pawn there, but it was missed, just centralizing the king. Bishop d5, great move. Trade piece, knight c4 check, b5. Yeah, this is really bad for Ray.
Yeah, Danya is, like, it almost feels like he's pre-moving the entire game up until a certain point.
And then just take this knight. Now you're up knight b6, take a4.
Yeah, a4 is hanging. b6 is just pushing, and we see a resignation. What a domination there by Danya.
He was up at like 10 plus seconds again. And he's unstoppable right now. When Danya is in form, when he's feeling it, he is, I mean, probably the best bullet player on the site.
Yeah, just look at the speed. He makes 10 seconds in like, he makes 10 moves in like 3 seconds. It makes no sense.
Yeah, no, I'm really, it's mesmerizing stuff. And along with Danya, there's Hikaru, of course, and some others. But the way Danya's playing today against Ray Robson, who's 3,200 to start, it just is ridiculous.
Absolutely. So now d6 is a big target for Ray. But yeah, gotta take care of the pawn e4 as well. And there was also some knight c4, queen c4 in the air, so gotta be careful of that too. Ray's making sure to defend that pawn e4 now.
Because less valuable pieces are protecting it, whereas Black's staring everything down. And okay, Bishop trying to remove the knight on c8, but now it's just a trade. And Anamaya, you know what I'm gonna say.
Yep, the time. Danya is up a couple of seconds, and those seconds are exactly what's gonna matter at the end of the game. The game is very much equal now, but the time.
And I
Ray was catching up.
I think that this one is one where Ray shouldn't be flagged. Like he's really quick himself, and we might see even a repetition at some point. But Donnie's going to try to flag him.
Just look at the speed. It's actually disgusting.
Yeah,
Repetition even. Yeah. All right. Well, that was a good one by Ray, honestly. Being able to catch up, despite being a few seconds down and making that to a draw, is a good result.
Yeah, but unfortunately, draws may be a good result in individual games, but not for the match score because Danya already up 4 points. And look at this position. The queen on G4 staring at the queen on D7 through this pawn on E6. So now there's going to be knight takes D5. The knight on D7 is loose on Amaya. This is, oh my goodness, there has to be a tactical shot here.
Yeah, that it's not looking great, and those knights can be really vulnerable because the knights are great together, but they can also they are nice defenders of each other, but it also means that the knights are a bit loose because once you attack one, the other one becomes vulnerable. So yeah, Ray has to find a way to make use of this double knight combination.
Yeah, and I mean the knights are going after the king. There might be a knight E3, but the knight E4 was hanging first, so the knight E3 wasn't actually. Oh gosh, the knights
H3.
just...
As I said, once they're defending each other, you have to attack one, and the other one becomes very vulnerable.
This is just absurd at this point. I mean, every single game he's up 10 seconds, and he had an advantage at some point after the opening, but he just played quickly. He's like, all right, I don't need to maximize on the board as long as I keep the lead on the clock, and he wins yet another game.
Yeah, we approached almost 50 moves in that game, and Daya barely spent 30 seconds in that game. That's absolutely absurd.
And it goes to show that if you're just on fire on a given day, even somebody who's approximately evenly matched with you, they could have no chance. And Danya is just locked in. He's focused, and he's given this his all.
Exactly. Yeah, we are in another endgame this time with the queens on the board. But I like Ray's position, like queen f7, it stops all sorts of attacks because it looked a little bit dangerous there for Danya. If Ray was able to create some threats on the f file, put the rook on f1 with the queen on f2, then it could have been a bit dangerous. But for now, Danya is doing a fantastic job making sure that there's no danger on the king.
Right, because there's only pressure on the f file. Watch out for queen b8 check in some positions, but it's hard to team up both the queen and the rook in the setup. The queen on e7 defends everything. h6, a useful move, just give your king a little bit more space. And yeah, now that these are traded off, only black could be better in these endgames.
Yeah, and not just that, Robert. I'm going to repeat what you want to say, the time.
Let me guess. Danya's up about 10 seconds?
Yeah. Perfectly correct. Yeah.
and he might just win this game on the board too, because at some point he would like to push his c pawn and then try to create a pass pawn. Here it goes. And you want to take on d4, but queen takes d4 with check, which is the only reason it didn't force a queen trade.
Exactly. I like what Ray tried to do here, pushing the pawn all the way to h5, making sure that g6 is an accessible square for the queen, and that it could cause some trouble for black. Daya is trying to avoid repetition at all, in all sorts of ways.
Yes, he can lose a bunch of pawns. He doesn't care about that, right? He's just going to try to win on time because Ray's 1 second left. No, it's over.
There's a queen hanging there, but okay, well, Daria was taking it.
I mean, this is unbelievable. Ray just laughing. You see this? Ray is sitting here being like, I am giving this my all, and Danya is just lights out right now. There is no stopping him. Yeah,
this is just like, I would say so far this match has all been about the clock, and both players, not just Danya, but Ray has been speeding up like crazy, but it's not enough. It's not enough against Danya. So yeah, we're going to a short break now. I'm really looking forward to a comeback from Ray, but yeah, so far Danya has been dominating, Robert.
He certainly has. And as on my side, we're going to do a quick break and we return. It's more from this matchup between Daniel Naroditsky and Ray Robson here at the Bullet Chess Championship presented by DigitalOcean. We are in the first match of the day between Daniel Naroditsky and Ray Robson. You see this in the winners quarterfinals. We will have all other matchups within the winners quarterfinals today. Hikaru Nakamura, Brandon Jacobson, Sedwani, Tuan, Minh, and Jose Martinez against Andrew Tang. But we have the second half of this matchup. And Anamaya, what can Ray do differently to mount a comeback here?
Honestly, it's as simple as play faster. How silly that may sound, Tang has been dominating on the clock and thus been able to win so many games. I mean, not only that, he's also been playing very, very well, but the clock was the deciding factor most of the times. So I really love to see Ray play even faster because honestly, it feels like he's playing as fast as the speed of light, but it's not enough against Danya.
And I think stylistically, these closed positions are playing into Danya's hands. And that's why Danya, with the white pieces, is choosing a situation like this, because he can play very quickly and then build that lead on the clock. So when it gets tactical, he has time to spend. And look at this position now. I mean, it's opening up and white is just dominating with much more space.
Yeah, look at the bishop on c6. It's black trades on c6 or the bishop trade, then knight c6, and you cannot touch that knight ever.
No, and the queen trade would have allowed knight takes e7 with check. Here comes the pawn. This knight on c6 is just a stallion. So Ray gets rid of it, but now he's down in exchange.
Yeah, this is a very comfortable position for Danya, obviously up on the clock again, but also up on the position. And Ray has to be defending here with rook on e8 and bishop on d7. There's not much else he can do.
No, and here comes rook e1, just put pressure on the e file. This is no fun. And okay, move the rook so you don't hang it. And queen d6 check was going to force the queens off, which is why Ray put his bishop on f4.
Yeah, he's been able to put his bishops all the way to g7, which is a much more comfortable spot. But yeah, here rook e1, forcing a trade. And I wouldn't be surprised if Ray is going to resign this game soon because he needs to play more games.
You called it. He resigns because Danya had a queen, and he was going to flag him even if Ray tried to hold on. So we're into the next game, and it is a King's Indian. We know that Danya is very happy to see this. And knight f4, look at this tactic. If bishop takes d4, you lose your knight. If knight takes c6, knight takes e2 is check. So Danya already up 6 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, it seems like he has done quite some prep here because this speed is out of this world. It's ridiculous. Take us on f3. What is happening? Yeah,
but look at Ray. See, this is what Ray needs to do. He needs to just take it right to Danya. This king on g8, obviously not very safe. The nature of the King's Indian is it's a risky business out there. And take on g6, e5 coming. Rook takes g6 to follow. There it is. It's all happening.
Oh, what a nice combination right there. That's what we love to see from Ray, the puzzle battle world champion.
Yeah, he needs a finish. Rook takes h8 and queen h4 check. We'll scoop up this rook on e7. And that's what he's going for. But then the king takes and goes to g7. So king g7 and king takes g6. And the knight on d4 protects e6. Oh my gosh, f2? Can you stop the pawn?
You can't. There's no way.
Oh my gosh.
No way. There's no way to stop the pawn. There's no queen f somewhere. There is no such move.
I mean,
it was completely winning.
This is just absurd. It is just
that was
unreal.
Such a good try. That was such a good try just to lose to that f pawn.
You know, Ray made one delayed move where he went queen takes pawn f4 instead of bring his queen to the h file. And as soon as Danya was able to bring another piece into defense, it allowed him to have a chance. But right now, Danya with the white pieces, I mean, there has to be a tactic because the e5 pawn is loose. He plays f4 instead to open up the f file against the black king. But Anamaya, it's just every single game, it's feeling like Ray just has to be deflated at this point, and there's really nothing he can do.
Exactly, Robert. This last game was his biggest chance so far, but that did not end well, unfortunately for him. Danya has a really comfortable position right now.
It's checkmate. Queen f6, knight g8.
Yeah, there's no way you can defend this.
It's knight g8's mate. Look at that. Oh my
wow,
gosh.
What a checkmate. That pattern. Wow.
Oh my gosh. It's just
he's seeing it all.
Yeah, and he's switching up openings, both players trying new things, but it doesn't matter what's played. Danya is just in. Look at that move. Knight takes c4. The bishop on e2 is pinned. If you take on f7, you lose this e3 bishop, which attacks the queen. I mean, this is unbelievable stuff.
So white is better now, but the problem is if you're not sure what to do here, you don't have time to spend. You don't
No.
have the time to calculate everything. And if you're not familiar with this position, you'll have a problem. And now it's Daya spending time, actually.
Right. And he's, for the first time in what feels like forever, he is down on the clock. He plays bishop b4. Take on f7, he will give up his queen over here and then take back. But this pawn e6 is so weak on Amaya, so that's going to give Ray some compensation. And Ray's well ahead in the clock.
I think it's really funny to know that both players, I believe, sacrificed their queens.
Yes.
For quite a bunch of material, obviously, so it was a fair trade, but it was very funny to note that.
A great decision by Don to give up the exchange because he's going to win this d4 pawn. And now the moves get easier, and we know how fast Donny is. The knight against the bishop, down goes some of these pawns, and look at Donny go. He's going to catch up on the clock. That's my guess.
Okay, that's a very bold statement, but yeah, Rayo's also playing very, very fast. 10-second difference now. Can Daya make it? Can he equalize the time?
Look what he's doing. He's trying to go rook f3 there to trade off pieces. Here comes h4 and rook g3. Look at this.
Ooh,
Oh
how
my
do you
gosh.
stop that pawn? For now, you're stopping that pawn, but the king goes to the other side and taking all of your pawns. And now Ray doesn't have any pawns left, so he can't even win anymore, even if he flags Danya.
Yeah, Donny's going to try to bring his knight to b3. He's done that.
Oh, look at that.
Oh.
And now Daya queens, and he has 1 second to
Yeah,
checkmate.
Oh my gosh, he's good. Oh!
He had it, but he pre-moved the wrong move. Oh.
Yes, he went the wrong way, but you can't blame him when you're down to your milliseconds. But honestly, Danya is in the best bullish shape I think I've ever seen from him.
That was insane. That was actually a coin flip, because if Ray went the other side, that was a checkmate. That was a checkmate right there.
It was. So it was that close to delivering another victory. But look at the score, 11-2. And Ray Robson is one of the absolute best bullet players on the planet. And this is the good thing about a double elimination format, because Ray he's already lost this match, right? That's without question. But he'll have a chance to go through the losers bracket, win some matches, and then try to compete for the championship.
Absolutely, yeah. It's very nice to see that the players have another chance to fight and come back in the bracket. But yeah, this match has been absolutely total domination by Danya.
And another position going up to the f pawn. If f5, you can take en passant, because while your knight loses defender, and he pre-moved en passant, the bishop on g7 is under attack. And okay, here we go.
Yeah, and you're barely defending here with the black pieces, barely.
Yeah, the queen covering f8 is really important. Rook f4 almost leads to a checkmate on h4, but then this rook starts giving you some checks, queen to d5, things like that. So white also has to be careful.
Exactly, the king on h1 is still vulnerable, so Diane goes for g4, trying to prepare either g5 or queen f8.
Oh, queen f4, queen f8. What a nice... Oh my goodness.
What a maneuvering of that queen.
I wish... I don't have time to show it, but that was really awesome.
Yeah, he is super, super sharp today. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, we'll just stick to this game here. But wow, that was really something. And now we're getting a Sicilian. It's sharp stuff here. White will have pressure on the f file. The knight on e4 is very strong, especially compared to this bishop. But for now, Danya... and there's nothing to target in this position. It goes king d7, and that king's on the run, but maybe it's going to not get very far.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of knight versus bishop imbalances throughout this match, and here we see another one. The knight on e4 is dominating that bishop on e7 pretty much, and now the f7 pawn is lost.
Look at that, queen g1 just to pick up the g4 pawn, right? I mean, how quickly you saw that. Rook takes e7.
Wow, but
takes,
the knight
just
is
queen
hanging
check.
on e4 as well. He takes on e4 instead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the queen f8, queen takes e7 would have been with check, and then white would have been a piece ahead. Now it's just equal material, and look at the clock. Oh,
You love to say it, Robert, the clock.
he dropped a pawn, he's dropping a second, so the clock doesn't even matter right now because it's just going to be winning for black over the board.
Yeah, absolutely. The pawn is just pushing, and the d pawn will follow soon.
Here it comes. Oh, king c5. There's
King
b4
c5,
check.
b4 check, yeah.
That's really important. And he goes for it. And I guess now that the pawn is locked up over here, you can trade rooks and win the king pawn game. Very nicely done.
Yeah, this is absolutely crushing a3, and
in the box.
And there's no way for white to take that pawn on d4 because then the a pawn pushes. You can't stop it. And resignation again.
See, Ray is a great sport. I've known Ray for a very long time. Really just a great sport. And I think he appreciates what Danya is doing right now. He doesn't like that he's in the losing end of this, but all he can do is look at Danya and be like, you're an absolute monster right now.
Yeah. Both players obviously have respect for each other. And this is absolutely crazy. This match is insane.
And the bishop went to the wrong spot. I thought she should go to c2 just to get both these pawns. But either way, Ray is up a pawn. He's only down a few seconds. So if there's any game that Ray should try and get, it's this one right here.
Yeah, looking really good. Rook to e8. You might not even be super upset about trading rooks because the pawns on the queen side are on light squares, so the bishop can easily capture them. Which is why Danya is not trying to trade rooks either. No,
Danya is trying to keep everything on the board here. He's also up a couple seconds, but at some point, Ray will have to make some progress. Maybe even rook takes d4 was possible. Okay, the king's coming in now. Wait.
Yeah, and the rook is just holding on to the e file, and the king went all the way to b3, and now the pawns will drop.
They're all going to drop, but Ray's down a couple seconds. So that's my concern at this point. And okay, Black, of course, is winning with all the pawns in the world. But in Ray, he's more than quick enough to win this position.
Yeah, Ray still has only 30 seconds.
I have faith in Ray.
This time you do?
Yeah, he's got this.
Yeah, okay, the 4 pawns are very intimidating. I have to be honest.
Look at this. They're all going. Okay, come on, Ray. I mean, we don't root for players, but at some point, enough's enough, right? And there
Checkmate.
Checkmate.
There we go. There you go. He made it in time.
And with that win, he cuts the deficit to 10 points.
Yeah. What do you do? We see a knight with early h5, stopping all sorts of English attacks on the king side.
Mm-hmm. And Danya making use of activity on the queen side. And once again, he's out to lead on the clock. And his position is solid. Even if the engine says white is better, this knight maneuver is very smart by Ray to improve the location of the knight. It's a matter of time in addition to what's happening on the board.
Yeah, we see e4 on the board trying to open up the
Check.
center, and
Yeah, here it
bishop
comes.
draws, but the knight is hanging, but it's not super great for I was gonna say it's not great for white, but with short castle it allows white to attack here on the king side because all the files are open.
Yeah, and the rook takes f6.
Rook takes f6.
Whoa, takes down knight e4 is possible just to go for the fork on f6 and queen f4 instead of queen e5 is queen e6 mate, so you can't bring your queen over there. Rook g8. Danya, is he somehow going to defend this? Queen g6 will trade queen. Nope, h4 is hanging with check. Doesn't work.
Yeah, Danya has to be really careful here, but knight takes f7, and white has another pass pawn on d5, and the knight can maneuver almost everywhere. Knight e5.
Wait, isn't it hanging?
Where do you go?
Oh, the knight was under attack. Oh, rook
Rook
f7.
f7.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
The
Oh
knight on
my
e5 was
gosh.
covering that square, so when the knight left, rook f7 was possible, and there's no way to defend the rook on f1 anymore. Wow. The
Yeah.
fact that he's able to set up such tactics and then execute them as well, like it's just, it's a very impressive.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say at this point. It's just, I mean, it's some of the best bullet chess I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, this is out of this world, absolutely. And we are heading to, well, we are in the very last game, actually. So, yeah, let's see what the last game is going to bring us.
Fireworks. Oh, e6 going up for the king.
No
Rook
doubt.
f8.
Ooh.
He wants to go there. Rook g3 coming. Oh my gosh, how are you going to protect the seventh rank? So the rook has to go to e7 as knight g6 with a fork as soon as the rook goes up.
Yeah, what a beautiful attack there.
My goodness.
He doesn't take.
Yeah, he wants queen f2, but it has no threat. White's pieces are all lined up perfectly. g7 now is under like d5. is sufficient DC5 to a rook D8. Oh gosh, queen G6 mate.
Oh, wow. What a setup. It's absolutely crazy.
I mean, that's the match. The match is over. Daniel Naroditsky wins by the score of 15-3 on Amaya. We did not expect this coming today.
Absolutely, that was insane. I'm out of words. I mean, Daya was dominating throughout the entire match on the clock, as well as like with his play. But the play was pretty close, but on the clock he was absolutely crushing it, and it was a very, very impressive match. I mean, Ray was also playing very, very fast, but it was just not enough. I don't know what to tell you.
I feel like I was watching two different movies. I was watching The Mask with Danya being like, somebody stop me. And then we're watching Ray. He's like determined, I'll be back because it's double elimination. So he is not gone from the Bullet Chess Championship presented by DigitalOcean, but we're going to be gone for a few when we return. It will be the next matchup in a day full of great ones here at the BCC. Stay tuned.
Hey, Carl.
Hey, Todd.
Deborah says you're working on a fancy app or something.
Hold on. Not really working on it yet. I just don't know which cloud service to go with.
Well, I've got a cousin on my Queens side that swears by DigitalOcean. Says they're easy to use, have straightforward pricing, and really focus on making developers happy.
DigitalOcean, huh? I'm gonna check them out.
What the hell? Dude, how are you doing that?
I'm not.
The all-new Classroom is live on chess.com. Classroom offers the very best virtual class experience for coaches, schools, and students. You can connect with anyone at any time with native video and voice conferencing. Check out the best way to teach and learn at chess.com/classroom. And while the players, they have been just an absolute force here in the Bullet Chess Championship presented by DigitalOcean. We saw Daniel Naroditsky. He moves on to the winners semifinals. And Anamaya, we have Sedwani and Tuan Minh coming up right next.
Yeah, to another big names, epic matchup again. Raunak won against Sportnik with a score of 8.5, 7.5, and Minh beat Erik Hansen with a score of 10-6. So that seems like it's gonna be another close matchup. Both players super strong bullet players, and yeah, very looking forward to see this match as well. So we have insights here. What is the most outstanding insight to you, Robert?
Well, just the number of games they played. Bullet games, they're almost 6,000 from Minh, and from Raunak, over 3,000 himself. And I guess the amount of games that end in flagging between these two players. I mean, if you look at their numbers, 70% of the games, I guess, are 27%, I should say, of the wins are by flagging, 43% losses for Minh, and 40% losses for Raunak, and 34% by Raunak there. I mean, a lot of flagging is happening.
Absolutely. And once again, similar accuracy percentages as the last matchup, 80 to 81%, which is absolutely crazy for the bullet time control.
Yeah, so these players, lightning quick. We will have a treat in store for us, and you can check out your own insights. I guess you can talk to somebody, get your internal thoughts, but if you want your chess insights, you can go to chess.com/insights to learn more. But Anamaya, we don't really need to learn too much more about these players. They both are mainstays on chess.com. They're both phenomenal competitors, and I just don't know who the favorite is. I'm going to go with Minh. It's a really difficult choice, but I think Minh might be the slight favorite today.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to choose, honestly. I know that Raunak is a very, very strong player, and Minh as well. Like, I honestly wouldn't be able to tell who's the favorite here. But the chat can vote. We have a community poll going on, so make sure to vote in the chat who your favorite player is. You can vote by typing either Raunak or Minh in the chat, and make sure to get involved.
Well, here we go. So it looks like Raunak, the slightly higher rate of the two, heading into today's action. And we start off with a Sicilian, not really the most open position in the world, kind of awkward structure from White's perspective, with the bishop still sitting on c1, but those light squares, and only White has a light square bishop.
Yeah, let's have a look. Ooh, there must have been a tactic there. Is there maybe some bishop c6? The evil bar went up quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, taking over the light squares is what Raunak is doing. Perhaps he didn't do it in the most precise way. And look at this, rook b8, kicking that queen out of b7. This looks much better for Black than it did earlier.
Yeah, even though, despite the fact that White has a pair of bishops here, the bishop on d2 is not that strong, and Black's pieces are much more active. And the pawn on a7 could be a problem in the future, but as you can see, for now, there's nothing that White can do to make use of the fact that they have a pawn all the way to a6.
Do you see the eval bar just jump like crazy? There must have been a bishop takes c3 tactic. That was what it was. When the bishop was on b5 and nothing was defending c3, there was a tactic available there. Hard to blame the players for missing it. They're just trying to move quickly. b5 at some moment to try to get this a6 pawn. Looks to make sense to me. And, well, it's not out of the question that it will happen soon.
Exactly, and Raunak is pushing on the king side now with the pawn all the way to g5, putting the rook on g1 to support that, and went g6 to get the rook all the way to g6 now. Very active.
Yes, but the bishop on f6, it stops all of White's threats. It protects g7, stops the rook's penetration on the 6th rank, and e5, e4 coming. Here we go.
Yeah, bishop takes e5. I believe he was trying to go for bishop takes h6, but that was not possible with the intermediate move there.
And losing all the pawns, but this king in the end game wants to go up to c6 into b7 or bishop b8 take the a7 pawn. So black still needs to be a bit careful that the white king could be checkmated.
Absolutely. Rook a5. It almost seemed like Minh was trying to set up some checkmate, but with king takes c4, that was not possible anymore. And the players are moving very fast now because they are down to 10 seconds, both of them.
Yes, bring the rook to h7. That's what I would do if I were Minh, and then bring the king in as well. Rook h5 is a useful move just to protect this pawn on b5. He plays it. King f3. Rook takes h2 at some moment. Could have been tricky, but we're getting into a pure scramble. And all right, well, it's going to be a draw because black is going to sacrifice the rook for the pawn.
Oh, is he guy? Okay, I was wondering who's gonna go for the flag here, but Minh went for the draw right away because he was slightly lower on time.
Yes, and at that point, no real choice. You don't want to get flagged in the first game, so it is still even on the scoreboard, and it's just the second game. Honestly, it just feels like a toss-up, doesn't it, Anamaya, between these two?
Exactly. Yeah, it's very close. I'm expecting a very close match between the two, and yeah, this position looks very balanced as well. It's kind of funny to see the contrast between the last match and this match because the last match was so fast and this one is a bit more relaxing despite the speed, you know. Compared to last match, this is super relaxing.
Yeah, the positions aren't so hectic, and that's Min's style. And I've watched Danya and Minh play each other so many times where it frustrates Danya. He's like, come on, let's get an open position. And Min's like, in due time, you have to wait your turn before we do that. But look at this, Raunak with the black pieces pushing his pawns. But every time you push pawns, you leave squares behind. And now there's a lot of pressure down the D file in both directions. And actually, this pawn F5 is now a potential target.
Yeah, exactly. I love the connect 5 there from black.
Take on d4.
Oh, the d4 is hanging?
I don't know what it was, but maybe there's oh gosh, just to go back really quickly, there was rook takes e5, rook e1 to follow 2 bishops in a row. That's what it must have been.
Oh, that's a really nice tactic, yeah, but very easy to miss.
Yeah, no, it's easy to find when you know that there's a tactic there. I would watch out for knight b5 to d6, not available anymore, and this pawn h5 is loose. King e2, king d3, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that the knights are relatively better than the 2 bishops because they're able to move around a lot, and those 2 bishops are just standing there. And Raunak is trying to open up the position to make the position stronger of the 2 bishops.
But and both players are moving a little bit too quickly in these moments. Knight b4 check. You would take this bishop on a6 if you want it. But it pre-moved his king. Wait, what just happened there? They both left. Raunak didn't take the piece back, and then Minh didn't move the piece.
Yeah, that's what happens in time scrambles, Robert. It's absolutely crazy. Both are down to around 6 seconds now.
Knight d4. Oh, he gave the pawn away. They're both giving away pieces that they shouldn't give away.
It feels like we're heading to a draw because there's no way for Minh to win this game.
But Minh should have had that game. Earlier, he should have had the game. With the knights, he even was handed a free piece, and he was up a pawn at some point as well. That was a really hectic game, Anamaya, but I think Min's going to regret not winning it.
Absolutely, yeah. The score is 1-1 right now, so the cards are still open for both players on the table. Everything is possible.
Yes, and this game, it looks like Raunak, he's going to continue to push pawns forward. That seems to be his MO. And, well, I'm in the position. Oh, knight takes b4. If the king were to take on d1, there was knight takes b4 as attack. That's why I took the bishop. But, Anamaya, it looks like Minh has neutralized any advantage that Raunak hoped to have.
Exactly, yeah. Raunak is supposed to be slightly better here with the pair of bishops, but there's not much he can do here. And also it's bullets, so anything can happen at this point. And actually, I would be worried playing in this time control against the knight because this knight can be super tricky.
Right, you can already go after this pawn. Watch out for bishop g6. That's why it brings the king over, so his king go to f6. But white trying to advance pawns, black does the same. And maybe you can even take it. I know you don't want to give an outside pass pawn, but there was some potential to take and try to play c4. Instead, we have opposite colored bishops, which means objectively, this probably should just be a draw. But look at the clock. Maybe there's going to be some speed problems here where black locks the position up and is up a couple seconds. Exactly,
yeah. And I was slightly worried about this bishop, light squared bishop, but now with the knight gone, there's nothing to be worried about anymore. But now the pawns, are they going to be able to move up?
Yes. No, black is winning this game. He goes back. So he was a little nervous about it, but he probably could have gone forward. It's hard to make those decisions, but in bullet, I think what Danya was showing earlier today is you just have to trust yourself and go with it. Like king g3, bishop takes f5 wouldn't have worked. So bishop probably has to go to c7.
It's not that simple, and drops the f5 pawn, but then you can push h2, and there's no way for you to stop that pawn. And now
f3, h2,
and you just play h2. Yeah.
Minh got it.
Wow. That was not easy. That was not easy to for both players to defend and attack.
Yeah, that was something. And Minh, he wins that game. He takes a 2-1 lead. And for Raonic, it's important not to lose your composure. When you lose a game in bullet, at least I speaking from my experience, you can get very frustrated, just like angry almost. Whereas Raonic, he's doing well, right? He's really in this match. It's super early thus far.
Exactly, Robert. I fully agree with you there. In this position, the knights are off the board. It's a bit unclear what white wants to do here, but for black, it's very simple. We just attack with the pawns on the king side. And yeah, how do you defend that?
I think Minh just trying to remove pieces from the board. That's why Raonic sidesteps it. When you have an attack brewing, you want to keep more pieces on to go for checkmate. And queen c4, I could have seen that move being played. Instead, the rook gets d4. Now queen c4 is what I would play just to avoid any attack. Instead, Minh focusing on the d file.
Yeah, it could still be dangerous as attack. So there comes queen c4, trying to trade off the queens. Rook f4 is hunting down that queen, but yeah, it's not so clear. Queen g5 and entering on the 7th rank.
Okay, f4 played, but this looks quite risky. Queen g4, that way if you go rook d7, you can even possibly just take it there, get 2 rooks for the queen, and e3 is hanging right now.
Exactly, and the h3 is an idea of black here. Is he going to take that? Yep, he does it. He takes the rooks off the board. Now you got to take care of those pawns in the center.
Oh, rook takes f4 is not possible because the rook was hanging there, and now it's possible to check. Yeah, this is bad news. Rook f2.
Oh,
mop up time. Take all the pawns. Check, and then push g2.
And this pawn. Yeah, it's really hard to stop that pawn.
Yeah, it's impossible. Here
Rook
comes
d1. What a move! After king takes e2, you just promote.
That was a really nice bounce back game from Raonic.
Really, really well played, and the score is tied again.
Yes, and it has felt like a very even matchup. It's easy to say that when the score is level, but just the way the two have been playing, it feels like some slight mistakes will lead to a win, but for the most part, it's been quite equal.
Exactly. The games have been very even. The clock situation is also very even. Both players are playing pretty quickly, and there's not like a clear favorite when it comes to the time as well. So indeed, the match is very even. Even with the 2-2 score.
Yeah, and it seems like Minh is happy to give Raonic the bishop pair. This isn't the first time we've seen him operate with the knights, but in this position, it's quite closed. And so it's like, have your bishops. You need open space to make them work, and that's what Raonic is striving for.
Yeah, exactly. It's really interesting that Raonic goes for c5, allowing the knights to go to d5 at some point. But Raonic is, Minh is not making use of this yet.
And what Raonic wants to do is keep pushing pawns and attacking the king. And rook takes d4, that was a free pawn, but there comes the attack. And you don't really want to take on h6, but it could be the right decision. But the bishop's coming into e5. It looks very scary.
Yeah, exactly. It's very uncomfortable with that open g file, but knight g6, and you have at least something covered. But it's not very comfortable being exposed to sort of attacks on g7 now. Ooh, queen d4, offering a trade.
Let's trade queens. And otherwise, rook d2 happens, and f2 is under attack. So queen d5.
Rook e4.
There was an f5 move with a fork that was definitely overlooked at some point, but yeah, this looks like it's just mate now.
And with the resignation now, Raonic is leading with 3 points.
Yes, 2 in a row for Raonic, and now it's Minh's turn to keep his composure because you don't want this match to get out of hand. You lose a 3rd game in a row, you start feeling deflated, but we're heading towards that midway point, so there will be a break after the next couple games.
Yeah, exactly. So in this position, the e4 square is really weak, and that's why Raonic goes for knight e4, but after, there's a pawn capture going on there in the center.
Yeah, so what is that? So all these pawns have come off. There's an isolated E pawn, but white has ended up a pawn ahead with pressure down the F file.
Yeah, and yeah, what is White's plan now? Are you gonna trade those bishops? I believe he wants to keep that bishop on the board. He's not in a hurry to trade off those bishops, and he wants to put pressure on that pawn on f7. So with the pawn on e5, he can try to put his knight on f6 or even his bishop. And he created a really nice square for himself there.
And queen b4 offering the queen trade, but Minh says, all right, we can trade queens. Now this rook can come to a4. It protects a2, attacks a5. The e5 pawn is sort of loose here because if the knight were to take, you'd lose the bishop on d2. But instead, Rana goes for the initiative with both rooks and gives away a second pawn.
Yeah, this is not really looking good for Ranak here. Those two pawns on the queen side, once they're going to push, it's going to be really, really hard to stop them. But for now, it's not so simple to push them.
No, not at all.
We're going to see repetition.
Minh is down a few seconds, and rook f2. Had rook f2 to trade rooks. That would have been, I think, a better way of dealing with this. And he goes king h2. So a little bit passive for white, but still a couple pawns ahead.
Yeah, passive is a very correct word because the knight on e1, oh, but it drops rook f7. And now how do you deal with that bishop under attack?
Check. Rook. Oh, I thought maybe rook c7 would have forced the rook. Okay, now you can win the knight, I guess, once the rook came back. That was nicely done. Minh was feeling that game.
Yeah, and this score is tied again. This match is super close. It's gonna come down to the very last game, I believe.
Yeah, this is 3-3, all knotted up. And look at this, a g4 push by Ranak. So Ranak is willing to throw his pawns forward, go for the attack. Minh is trying to be more solid.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, this knight on e5 is very, very strong, but how do you make use of this knight? So Ranak tries to play g5, try to kick that knight away and put pressure on f7, but the knight on e6 is covering this very... there was maybe... Okay, so after c5, knight f5 was still going to defend that, but it was worth considering that for sure.
And we are getting word, thanks so much to everyone working so hard behind the scenes, that Minh was 71% of the chat vote, so that Minh was going to win this match. So 71%, 29%. This is all locked up right now. So it remains to be seen if Minh can live up to the expectations of the crowd. But right now in this game, Anamaya, I mean, it looks like white should, well, for a moment there, it looked like it was doing much better, but now the pawns are all dropping.
Yeah, certainly all the pieces have been traded off, and it's not super clear. Drops the pawn on g7, but at what cost? Bishop f6 would be... I mean, it's a nice check, but plays c5.
Mm-hmm. And
trying to open up the d file for the rook.
And he goes h6.
Suddenly, that pawn is on h6, and like has to be careful there.
But unfortunately for white, you can never really push it. The rook on h2 is keeping everything together, and this e pawn should think about moving up the board soon. Oh, bishop takes h6. That's a pawn.
Drops the h6 pawn now, so that's very, very costly. And now the e pawn is gonna push, but there was a checkmate. Gotta be careful there.
Rook h4, rook h4. You win the rook. You win the rook.
You win the rook, king c5, rook h5, and that's over.
That's over.
Takes home this game. What a nice win.
And they're trading off victories, right? Minh was up one, then Ranak came storming back with a couple wins. Now Minh has 2 in a row of his own, and we're heading to the halftime break here. So Anamaya, before we go on our way, what do you think needs to change for either player? Any suggestions?
Well, it's honestly really hard to say. I would say, like, if one of the players is gonna play faster, they will have a big advantage for the rest of the match, because both players are equally playing fast, and there's not a clear better player when it comes to bullet. So if one of them changes this, then it will be very noticeable in the score. So I'm really looking forward to the second half of this match.
Yeah, the critical moments have just been going, to Minh, to Ranak. So it's really feeling like a toss-up that we were talking about in advance. We're going to head to break and return. It's more from this matchup between Minh and Ranak at the Bullet Chess Championship presented by DigitalOcean. We've already had one match in the books today. It was Daniel Naroditsky beating Ray Robson, but Ray Robson's run here at the Bullet Chess Championship has not come to an end. He will take on Alexander Bortnik in the losers bracket. That's the nature of the beast that is double elimination. So Anamaya, that's also going to be a very fun matchup tomorrow between Ray and Alexander.
Exactly. Yeah, both obviously very big names. It's going to be a very exciting matchup, and yeah, very looking forward to seeing that match as well.
Yeah, for sure. And the loser of this one will take on Arjun Erigaisi tomorrow. So the fun doesn't stop. Just because you may lose one match doesn't mean you're out. You have to lose two before that happens. And Minh has won 2 games in a row. Raonic now is the black pieces. He's going to look to even the score. And we'll see if the break did these players any good.
Yeah, let's see if they're gonna speed up now. It was my wish, kind of, to see one of the players at least speed up, to see if that can make the difference in the match. But for now, yeah, both players are playing pretty fast in the opening. The knight on e5 is really, really nice, nicely placed. White is pushing with the pawn all the way to a5 and trying to open up that a file, which is open now.
Yeah, so I think, out of the gates here, it looks like Minh maybe with a slight little something here. Oh, you have to be very careful, because if you allow this queen to infiltrate, this f7 pawn could be a target. So the bishop, the dark square bishop, not very good for black right now.
Exactly, and Minh is trying to go for g5 here, because once the knight is gone, you can consider queen d7. As you mentioned, the queen will infiltrate, and f7 pawn will be in big trouble.
Okay, so the queen comes to a6, the knight comes to e4. It's protected twice. The bishop on 8 is serving a purpose back here. And now a big decision for Minh. Do you take it? He does. He's going to go bishop g2. I thought he was going to go bishop e2. But either way, this move b4 at some point might be annoying.
Yeah, and Raonic went for the queen trade right away, because maybe there was some knight takes g6 in the air, and the king situation would be very, very unclear. So yeah, the queen was way too active on a6. So trading off was a very smart decision.
Wow, and look at this, giving up the h pawn to go for the f pawn, and you can take, and there'll be knight f6 check to win the e4 pawn. If so, e3 is played, the f4 pawn not going anywhere, but the knight gets in the way. And honestly, Anamaya, I could see this going in either direction.
Exactly, absolutely, Robert, because the pair of bishops can be really, really dangerous, and this pawn on e3 is just staying there, and knight g4 allows bishop takes f4. Yeah, he's taking it now, and this is not so clear. Bishop b7 check, allowing white to take on f4, because then e2, and you cannot stop the pawn.
Yeah, here it comes. You can't stop it. This is a win for Raonic, pushing that pawn through.
This is exactly how you make use of the pair of bishops. What a beautiful way to win that game.
Yeah, seriously nice job by Raonic. He traded the queens and he pushed his pawns forward, and they got the bishops to life. And when that happened, Minh was not able to keep pace. So right now it is 4-4, as even as it gets. And right now it looks like it's another closed position that's starting to open up after the en passant.
Absolutely, yeah. Black has the center here, but it's not very simple for black to push the pawn to e5. So as long as okay, well, there it goes. I spoke too soon, but yeah, I was gonna say the pawn e6 was vulnerable. So now on e5 is very, very strong, and you want to push e4, and there we go, e4, and that's it.
You knew exactly how black should win the game, and Minh says, I agree with you, Anamaya. Thank you for your input, and that's exactly how he won. So really, that was a dominant performance by Minh. But I do feel like those games sometimes are easier to shrug off than those long games you lose on time. Because if you lose a quick game like that, you're like, all right, I just have to see the tactics a little better. I'll be better next game. And so I do think that Raonic, he should still feel perfectly fine in this match.
Absolutely, yeah. The position really looked like a French pawn structure, at least from black's perspective. So I definitely recognize what you want to do there with your pawns.
No, you called all of it. So right now, this d5 pawn is a nuisance. It's protected twice. So that means black isn't going to be winning that anytime soon. And the semi-open c file could be useful for white. And oh, knight takes g6. Oh, he could take it on g6.
It was missed at first, but now the pawn is taken. Raonic was able to save the exchange until bishop h5.
And then, but Raonic, he's clearly keeping an eye on the match clock because he's resigning quickly. So he has plenty of time. The final game needs to begin with at least 1 second on the match clock. So if he can stay within a point at that moment, he will have a chance. But he's resigning early, which I think was smart in that position.
Exactly. With both players having so much time left on the clock, it's really difficult to try to go for a flag there, being down material. So it makes a lot of sense that he goes for this. And was there some discovery attack maybe?
Yeah, I turned my head for a second and I saw the eval bar going up and down. So there clearly was something available for white, but Raonic going for the rook lift. Rook f3. The problem is black can't really play f6 because the g6 pawn. Oh my
92.
gosh! Minh is just spotting everything right
fuck?
now.
Rook takes f7, trying to complicate the position. Is it enough?
Queen takes e5 might be good, but then it's queen takes g6. Oh my gosh!
Oh
After-
my goodness.
After queen g6,
Queen takes e1 and knight
e1
f1.
check. Yeah, the minimum that's a draw, but I was just trying to figure that all out there. He takes an e5, but now he's down a piece.
What a messy position. And now Minh is up a knight.
Uh-oh. Oh my goodness.
But you
though.
gotta be careful.
No, he blundered completely. And you can't go to f8 because then you get this little checkmate, almost like a smothered checkmate. But at any moment, Raonic can make a draw. I would try to even win this game. There he goes, h4.
Yeah, there's no way for black to stop this unless you make a big blunder.
Well, he
Okay,
stopped it.
96. You stopped the perpetual at least, but now white has so many pawns on the king side, so actually white should be able to try to go for a win here.
Yeah, and rook e2, 91. That's a really good job. Knight takes f3 check. Really well done there by Minh just to stay in this game. But Raonic a bit ahead in the clock and can never lose on the board. So it's going to be a time scramble, and Raonic has a little bit more time.
Yeah, the play's gonna speed up a bit more because very little time.
Yeah, it's a draw.
Yeah, this should be a draw. Well, repetition, okay.
Yeah, there's nothing that white could really do. The knight would come to f5 and sacrifice itself for these pawns. And Minh was actually ahead on the clock all of a sudden. So, yeah, he knows that even if he's getting in some time trouble, he knows that moment to speed up.
Exactly. That was a really good try of Raonic, but he really needs to step up to come back in this match. Let's see what he's going to do now. So with the bishop on g5, okay, it's being pushed back. And now the e5 pawn is a target.
But black saying, I'm not worried. I'm going to kick all your pieces back. And then maybe I'll push my pawns even more to f4, for instance. c5.
Exactly. Hitting on c5 now. So queen e6 defends at h5. What a move. The queen is not defending the pawn f5 anymore. So that's why Minh goes for h5 to make use of that.
Oh my gosh, just right after the c5 pawns, no way defended. See, that's what Minh does so well. He plays these quiet lines, but he knows exactly when to strike. He'll push a pawn and then undermine the opponent's position. And now he's up a pawn and just doing really well. I don't know what bishop a3 was, though. That was a little strange to me.
It's very creative. I love to see it. I love to see it. The knight goes to c5 perhaps, and it could actually go to e4 now. Okay, bishop goes to e4 instead, and Minh is pushing the pawn all the way up.
Yeah, it's
G5
closing
at some point.
Closing the king side. You're right. G5, knight G5. Uh-oh.
Oh,
And that's that. I mean, Minh is on a tear right now.
absolutely. Going for the Scandinavia now.
And Raonic still has a chance, right? There's still plenty of time. He needs to score 2 victories before the match clock completely elapses. That way he gets that final game. So if Raonic can win this game, he's still very much in the match.
For sure, but it's definitely not a comfortable position to be in because he's pretty much in a must-win situation at this point now.
Wow, and knight takes e5 played by Minh so quickly. That was all sorts of tactics in the air. He just steals 2 pawns and gets away with it. Castles,
Absolutely.
queenside.
Long castle out of the blue wasn't even possible.
Well, there's bishop takes e6. Like, I feel like Raonic is not confident in his tactics right now. There was bishop takes e6 check available there.
Absolutely. Queen takes f2, and oh, the position is falling apart for white.
Yeah, you're gonna have to trade queens, and if you trade queens, then
King takes d8. Wow.
really nice, keeping the rook in line with this pawn on e6.
Exactly. And yeah, it's just beautiful to see how all the pieces are coordinating so well of Minh. And another resignation. It's a 4-point difference now. That's a really big gap. And there's only 5 minutes left now on the clock.
Yeah, Raonic has no choice but to win games. He has to win the next 3 games, otherwise he's gone.
Absolutely. Knight g4 setting up a threat on h2. Knight
Wait,
d4.
when knight takes d4, the queen can come back to g2. That's huge for Minh.
Oh, that is a really nice maneuver of the queen. And everything is fine.
White's just up a pawn. So, could have went e3 instead went bishop to e3 and still up a pawn. Knight can come to d5 at some point as long as you don't hang anything. And knight d5 now. Rook takes c5. E6 is 97 check. So that's why this works. Look at Minh just trading off all the pieces because he's up 2 pawns.
Yeah, this is a very nice position for Minh here. F5, very creative move, but it's not enough. Trades down to a rook endgame, and being 2 pawns on is a little too much.
Yes, though being 5 seconds up, that's something.
It's something, but yeah, they both have more than 30 seconds, so it should be enough to try to go for a win here. But 1 pawn dropped, it's not that simple.
And if Minh has been paying attention to the match clock, he could make a 3-time repetition because that actually helps him win the match.
Exactly, yeah. Pawn is pushing all the way to h4, but it's not enough. You cannot advance this pawn too far because the king is too close.
Rook e3, rook e6. Oh!
You cannot take on anything.
Oh!
He takes.
Because you can't go king h5. Yeah, you can't go king h5, so you just keep these checks. And that actually was really important for Minh because now that he drew this game, the match is over. It's only 4 minutes remaining, not enough time for Raunak.
Exactly, yeah. It was completely winning for him, obviously, but he doesn't care about the win anymore because the match is pretty much in the bag for him. All he needs was a draw.
And now it's just going to win every game because Raunak is all in, right? He's like, every game I need to attack. There's nothing I can do. I have to win. Yeah, I agree with you.
That is not a nice opening for Raunak. Unfortunately, d3 is still trying to keep things together, but it's definitely not a comfortable position here for White.
Just simply down a pawn. King is less safe. No problems at all for Black here. So yeah, this is just bishop c5, just taking on d3. Didn't even work here. It's just a situation where Raunak has no choice but to throw all his pieces forward.
Yeah, the piece coordination, it's really hard to find a nice coordination of the pieces. They are placed pretty poorly, so that was a really unfortunate game for Raunak. Let's see what he has to bring in this game, trying to level up the match score at least a little bit.
Minh is just, he found his form, right? At the halftime, he was up by 1 point because he'd won 2 in a row. And since that break, it's been all Minh. Yeah,
his play has been excellent. It's not even like that he's per se speeding up that much compared to the first half. He's just playing better.
Yeah, no, he's finding all the critical moments and making the right decisions in them. And Raunak right now is up a few seconds. Bishop takes g7 would be a blunder. E takes f3 check. Okay, that's the same blunder. You need to move the knight. And so Minh will lose this game, but he might just let the clock run out.
Yeah, he's looking up now and he's... I thought he was not going to move, but I think he got he was thinking like, what did I do? What went wrong there? Yeah.
And fortunately for him, he's only making a mistake when the match is already his for the taking. So it's okay. I mean, we all make mistakes.
Exactly. Yeah, this seems like a win for Raunak, but not enough to tie up the score.
Also, great technique there by Raunak to play bishop e5 so that you can force through the pawn. This is Minh just wasting time because for a second I thought it was stalemate.
Yeah, it really looked like one. But yeah, it was that was a really nice game by Raunak. And he had so much time left. He had 30 seconds left.
Yes, he just at this point just moving. All right, he's moving more with his hand than with his brain, and he wants to score a few victories down the stretch. It's just the time is elapsing. It's he knows the match is over.
Yeah, only 1 minute left, and Minh can just run out, let his time run out, and call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, it has a good looking position now. It's a rook endgame with only one open file, and it's Black that controls the open file.
Yeah, looks really good for Minh here. But it's not easy to infiltrate in White's position because the knight on f3 is covering the d2 square, and now Aranek is trading off the rooks. I was gonna say the other rook as well, but he decides to take with the pawn, so he keeps one pair of rooks on the board.
And trying to go for d4, but look at this. Both players maneuvering knights, and the knight wanted to go to c5, so the knight came to b3 to stop it. Now pawn c5 is going to be possible.
Yeah, and the knight can enter on d4.
Whoa.
Oh, tries to open up on the king side.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, creating some imbalances.
Yeah, this is getting actually quite interesting because now black has these outside pass pawns, or white has pawns in the center here. The e5, f6 ideas. e5 check, takes knight d6 check. Nicely done by Ranek.
Oh, what a nice tactic there. And it's not so easy for black to push the pawns, but one pawn already dropped, but the h pawn is also falling, and those pawns in the center are just crushing.
h3, you have to push the pawn, but e6 at some point, you're going to go for checkmate with the rook coming to h8. f7 and rook h8 is going to be mate.
Yeah, Minh was trying to distract her with the pawn, but it's not enough. The pawns are just promoting, and that's going to be a GG for this game.
But it's also a GG for the match. So they end up with similar ratings, but it was Minh who wins 10-7. And Anamaya, I mean, really just a phenomenal second half of this match from Minh.
Absolutely. His play was excellent. It was really, really well done by him. Ranek tried his best, but it was not enough. And the time management of both players was really good. We had barely time scrambles in this match.
Yeah, that's a good point. The first match, it felt like Danya was flagging Ray in all sorts of positions. And this one, did we really even have a time scramble?
Barely. I mean, I'm pretty sure we had like one, but I wouldn't be sure about more.
Yeah, no, it really was a match decided in earlier portions of the game, but the match is in the books. We still have two more to go. The next match coming up is Andrew Tang versus Jose Martinez. You will not want to miss that one. That's going to be pretty epic. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, it's the third match here in the winner's bracket at the Bullet Chess Championship presented by DigitalOcean.
Hey, Carl.
Hey, Todd.
Deborah says you're working on a fancy app or something?
You know, hold on. Not really working on it yet. I just don't know which cloud service to go with.
Well, I've got a cousin on my queen's side that swears by DigitalOcean. Says they're easy to use, have straightforward pricing, and really focus on making developers happy.
DigitalOcean, huh? I'm gonna check them out.
What the hell? Dude, how are you doing that?
I'm not.
All right, everybody, there is a job opening up here at Chess.com. Would you like to work as an esports producer for the #1 chess site in the world? Chess.com is looking for a top-notch producer to join our talented and passionate team. Work remotely, producing live streams of the biggest chess events and help shape the landscape of online chess entertainment. Go to chess.com/jobs now to learn more about this opportunity. Robert, doesn't that sound amazing?
Sorry, Anamaya, I was busy going to the site to maybe apply for the job myself. But in all seriousness, it is Chess.com is looking. You get to work with the likes of Anamaya and myself. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Hopefully a good thing. When it relates to me, of course, it's a great thing to work with you. But we're having a good time here at the Bullet Chess Championship presented by DigitalOcean. We're in the winner's bracket quarterfinals. It is Daniel Naroditsky, Tuan, Minh. They made their way through to the winner's semis, and we still have 2 matches to go. Andrew Tang is taking on Jose Martinez, and then last but certainly not least, we will have Hikaru Nakamura taking on Brandon Jacobson. So we have insights, as we do for every match, for the matchup coming your way next. It is Andrew Tang and Jose Martinez, 2 of the biggest names on chess.com. And Anamaya, as you look at this, their average accuracy, identical.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. Again, 81%. It's the number of the entire tournament. 81%. If your accuracy is around 81% in all your bullet games, you're doing something right, everybody.
Yes, I wish my bullet chess could have that kind of accuracy. But Andrew Tang, who is a speed demon, actually a good number of his losses are on time, which that's the most surprising fact about this to me.
Absolutely, yeah. We all know that Andrew Tang is a monster when it comes to bullet chess. Hyper bullet is at every absolute demon at it. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Robert. It's really surprising to see that.
Well, Jose Martinez, he is the best of the best here on chess.com. He's involved in every big event you can name. He's really made a name for himself. He's a streamer as well, just like Andrew. So both these players are fantastic. If you made me choose who I think is going to win this match, I'm going to go with Jose. I know that Andrew is so strong, but something's telling me that the form Jose has been in recent months, I got to go with him.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. However, I love to see Andrew speeding it up and show us how it's done in the time scrambles. I'm really looking forward to that. And you guys can also vote. Make sure to vote in the chat, either for Andrew or for Jose. You can type it in the chat, and we will announce the results of that poll later on.
Exactly. And I know people must be surprised, like I was, about Andrew losing a good percentage of his games that he loses on time. But that could be for a number of reasons, right? Like you could just let your time elapse in the lost position. He just doesn't lose that often. So it's not too many games that he's getting flagged in, but we'll see if Jose is up to the challenge. The players are pretty close in rating, and we're getting in Spanish where the queens are off the board early. Black is the bishop pair. Anamaya, what are you thinking here?
Yeah, it's a very balanced position so far. So black has a pair of bishops, but the pawn structure is not the best. And that is what white is going to try to take advantage of. And of course, having knights in a bullet game is terrifying for the opponent. So I'm very looking forward to see what's going to happen in the next couple of moves. So with the pawn on e4, it's very interesting to see with the open f file who's going to make use of that best.
I didn't love the decision to take with a pawn. You're giving yourself an isolated pawn. Look at this, the bishop slicing across the board. A rook f3, maybe a rook f1 in the future, and knight into d4. I mean, Andrew is playing very well thus far.
Exactly, yeah. But the knights are activating now are able to go to f5, and one is on d5 already. So let's see how Andrew is going to make use of that with the pair bishop. Plays bishop e. Oh, wow. What a move. 97 check to go to g6.
Okay, and I think there's a good practical decision by Jose. Look at the clock. Jose is well ahead on time. The knight's coming to f5, and if h6 falls, black's in big trouble.
And absolutely, and the pawn is really dangerous, but as far as I can tell, the bishop on b2 is covering that very well, so there's no big danger for black here yet, but gotta be careful of a move like e5, stopping that bishop from covering the h8 square.
Okay, well, e5 was available. Look at the clock situation. Even if Andrew's better, but that pawn's promoting.
The pawn plays rook f2. Very, very accurate.
Run with the king. You have to run. Don't take any of these
3
pieces. Get a
seconds
check.
left.
Oh
2
my
seconds.
goodness.
He needs to speed up. He needs to speed up.
2 queens and a rook. Oh, I thought it was stalemate, but there's a pawn here.
I also thought it was a stalemate.
There's a pawn.
Wow, what a finish.
That was wild. I mean, Jose was well ahead in the clock, but Andrew finding all of the resources necessary in that endgame to promote not just one pawn, but a second as well, and then win the game.
That was an insane time scramble, and it got super, super close towards the very final seconds. He was slowing down a little bit, but he still was able to checkmate. And we are in this position right now, and White has a really nice attack going on the king side.
Yeah, it's a London system gone wrong for Black because White has this initiative here. Queen comes to h4, and Black is holding on for now. And the problem with the London, or especially the stone wall that we're seeing here, is that there are all sorts of holes in the position. Knight e4 is one of them, and you can't kick that knight out. It's just going to be entrenched on the e4 square.
Yeah, I was going to say we're going to expect g5 here to create the holes that you were talking about, and now the knight is on e5, and it's really well placed, but how do you make use of this advantage? h4, there you go.
Just can keep pushing this pawn, so take on f7, try to play h5, queen h4 to follow, and now you're getting ready to go for an attack down the h-file.
Exactly. So Andrew is indeed trying to stack up on the h-file, but since Jose is defending very, very well, he is trying to shift the attention to the queen side, and Jose is cutting it down there.
Yeah, it is smart for Andrew to go to the queen side, and Jose's just trying to neutralize this queen's infiltration. Look at this, rook b, queen c5. Uh-oh, drop the pawn.
Ooh, the position is falling apart for Jose, and White is able to infiltrate in Black's position. And what is the follow-up? Because everything seems very well defended now. Rook takes e5.
Look at these tactics. The queen was loose here. Queen b7 was mate. And now the rook's coming in. Rook c8 check is not a mate, but it wins a queen. Now queen c5 is mate. Dang.
Wow, that was a really impressive game.
Yeah, when Andrew's in this kind of form, good luck. And for Jose, like, he was in the game for a while, but then when the position was locked up, only White had a chance to break open the position. The side that controls the pawn breaks off the side with the advantage. So we're in the next game here, Anamaya, and look at Andrew striking again with f5.
Yeah, knight h5 is a typical maneuver to play f5 and or play knight f4. Not sure if that is necessary right now, but for now, you got to kick that bishop and play queen g6 indeed, and knight f4 is going to follow soon, perhaps.
Uh-oh. G2 is mate, d3 is hanging. What's wrong with knight f4? I don't see any problem with it. Rook has to go g1, you lose the d3 pawn, and you're down time, you're down in position, your king's in some trouble. Good luck.
Yeah, that's definitely not a comfortable situation for Jose. Black has a total domination here in the center, e4, and knight is going to jump to e5, and it's not looking pleasant here for White.
No, but it's looking pleasant for all the voters out there, because 74% of the poll went to Andrew Tang, 26% to Jose. And okay, well, actually, maybe I spoke a second too soon there, because it was a huge advantage for Black, and all of a sudden, maybe White can strike on the king side as well. Oh.
Yeah.
Wasn't that pawn c7? The rook went to c1, and I thought the pawn was hanging, and then he didn't take it.
The players are moving really, really fast now. They're down to 15 seconds now. And it's kind of crazy to be in such a position when you're down on the clock to that level.
Okay, and next extra exchange. Oh, it's mate h1!
Back on d6!
Oh, that was a huge blunder, because it's mate down on h1. Oh, and queen e2.
Oh, a checkmate! Oh, that is very, very unfortunate for Jose. That was such a nice try. It could have gone anywhere, but sadly not his way.
That was another really fascinating battle, and Andrew Tang is just playing quickly. He's playing well. He did lose the thread for a little bit there, but he kept the initiative going, and his clock management is just so good.
Yeah, it's very, very impressive, and he's very practical. His moves, he's saving a lot of time, and he's making the position very complicated at the same time. So he's putting a lot of pressure at the same time on his opponent.
And here we see a position opening up. Andrew with the white pieces. You know, now Okay, allowing bishop takes f6, that was extremely surprising. Yeah, that seems just playing into white's hands.
Yeah, exactly. The engine was really happy with black's position, but practically speaking, this is very, very good for white because how do you defend? The position feels like it's falling apart slowly. Rook takes f7, threatening knight g6 check, and now it's checkmate.
That was actually that was sick. That was
Rook takes f7 was so nice.
That was nasty. And
yeah,
Jose hasn't scored even a half point thus far, so he is getting swept at the moment. But Andrew is not even letting loose. I don't even know what to say right now. Just so dominant for Andrew Tang.
Yeah, he's not giving Jose a single chance, and there was one chance where Jose was up on time, but even then, Andrew is just striking on the clock still.
And right now, it looks like the position it's decent for white because there's that bishop e6 check. That's how the king went to be. A very smart move, and Andrew played it very quickly. And now bishop takes f3 is a threat. It wasn't a move ago. Bishop e6 still an option for white.
Yeah, knight g5, what a move. It's not a move you see every single day because after h6, where do you go? But everything is it's working together. Oh, we're moving on really, really fast. Queen takes c7 dropped.
Rook c4 is better because rook c3 there was knight b5, so that's a really
nice
important
spot, Robert.
Important placement of the rook. And now rook c3, and at b4 there's rook c5.
The king is not happy on the a7. How do you defend this? And Andrew is spending a lot of time here. Plays b4 to try to keep the position together. Queen f4 threatening knight e2 check. Queen takes.
Whoa! Oh my gosh!
Checkmate!
And he saw that so quickly. Knight of
How does he see that?
Oh my gosh, knight of 3 was just winning on the spot, but this also is. Oh, wait a second. Queen
the king.
Queen c8 check. Was there Queen c8 mate?
What a turnaround!
Wait a second. Wow. That was an unbelievable tactic, and then he lost.
Wow! How the tables turn.
Oh, that could change the whole trajectory of the match. I think Jose needed just to get on the scoreboard, and we'll see if Andrew is going to be level-headed about this because that was a brilliant tactical shot by him, and unfortunately for him, it didn't land him the victory, but still, great tactical awareness by both.
Yeah, this is a great win for Jose. This is definitely like a great start for a potential comeback. And yeah, let's see how Andrew is going to deal with that now. He has a really nice position here. The knight on e5 was greatly placed. Jose tried to attack it with f6, but now the position is a bit... the situation here for black is... like, the squares are a bit weak here, so... I'm curious to see how Andrew is going to make use of that, but black's pieces are just activating. C4.
Yeah, and look at this knight d6, quickly rerouting the knight to make sure that white doesn't get an easy e4. He plays it, but he's not thrilled about it because look at the d4 pawn.
Absolutely.
Oh, great move, queen c7. Watch out for knight take f6, not available because rook takes e1. So that's why Jose is playing in the manner he is.
The f5 pawn drop. This could be very crucial. He's going to stack the rooks on the e file now.
Oh, there's got to be a tactic. Yeah, 93. Still 93. There it goes. Forking rooks, and now knight takes a pawn.
Rook takes g7. Wow.
Desperate times, desperate moves. Rook g5, queen e5. Okay, queen d5 is good enough. But Jose's also up on the clock.
Yeah, but with the speed of Andrew, oh, queen h7. Yeah, that was Jose still had plenty of time to see that move coming and react to it. But yeah, it's 4-2 now. It's still definitely an open match so far.
Well, if Tang had won that game where he went queen takes g4, he would have been up 5-0. Instead, Jose building some confidence, 2 wins in a row, and he would love to make it 3. So rook to g1 is about to happen. This is looking kind of uncomfortable. B3? B5 is there. Okay, so B4 instead. Wow.
Oh, that's a really, really interesting decision by Jose. Weakening the king, but it seems fine. It seems perfectly fine. But now you gotta be worried because there's a lot of pressure on that pawn in the center.
Yeah, black's up some material. It's white's king is not safer than black's, that's for sure. And c6 just going right for this pawn here. If you move the bishop, you get checkmate. So that's the one thing that Andrew has to watch out for. Oh, queen takes f8 was a threat. That's why he went queen c5, and that's why Andrew quickly went queen f6.
Wow, they spot these tactics so quickly. It's super impressive. A4 trying to open up some files here because the king on a2 is in huge danger. And rook b2 threatening now. What do you do?
This has to be completely winning, but where's the win? Oh, queen a5 mate.
Sacrifices
Nice.
an entire rook. Wow, what a fine c4. Wow,
And
that
now
is
it's
some impressive play.
yeah, it's back to a 3-point lead for Andrew Tang. And now look at this. The queens have come off. We're in a King's Indian without any bite whatsoever. It's often solid for black, but it's not what you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. And in this position, black has a pair of bishops, but they're super inactive.
Oh, well, now they might activate all of a sudden because Andrew went for the attack. He's going for checkmate, but he's not getting it. And there goes the first bishop. The second one can go out on the dark squares. And king h7, king takes h6 is what he wants as well.
Yeah, I spoke too soon. The bishops are suddenly very active. Bishop goes to g6, is putting pressure on the pawn on e4, and the center is not looking very happy here for white.
Black's up 2 pawns. I mean, this is just kind of a strange game, honestly. It felt like Andrew was doing so well in the match, and all of a sudden he just got a little bit too ambitious.
Yeah. Jose is definitely finding back, and we love to see that spirit. Rook f3, and it's not over.
King f8, and there's got to be a mate here, right? Like bishop d3. Where's the mate? Oh, that's got to be good. Just pile up all
There
the pressure.
has to. Yeah, this is over. Well,
Oh, g3. Oh, goodness. And Jose takes it.
Yeah.
Wow.
5-3. It's still match. The match is still going.
Yep. Oh my gosh, 5-3. So it started off 4-0 for Andrew Tang, and now Jose is catching up. So it feels like he's getting into the nature of the match. At first, he was looking a bit shaky. Now he's playing his better bullet.
Absolutely. And we went from a Roy Lopez to this position. And yeah, the bishop, typically the light squared bishop is very strong in a Roy Lopez, but now it's off the board. And which piece is better? Would you want to have the knight or the bishop in this position?
Definitely the knight. The bishop won't have anything to attack. And so well, now it is something to attack. I just said nothing, and now it's a little something, but this rook is coming in d7. I feel like the knight is just a good piece in these endings, but unfortunately for Jose, he's giving targets.
Yeah, the knight is super strong against that bishop. I would love to see the rook activate even more, but it wasn't able to go to d7 just yet. So yeah, black is pushing back. King d5, king c4. The pawns are just dropping.
What was rook h1? I mean, you had to play rook g1, not rook h1. Maybe there's a mouse slip, I'm not sure, but either way, it's clear that black is dominating up a pawn and going after the b4 pawn next.
Yeah, this must be completely lost.
And down on the clock as well. So nothing going right for Jose in this game. Andrew takes a 3-game lead once more, and this game is going to be aborted because it is halftime here, a little bit past. And I mean, Anamaya, Andrew Tang doubling Jose's score.
Yeah, so far Andrew has been playing really, really well. Both players have been making mistakes here and there, but it's clear that Andrew is playing really well on the clock. Even when he's down on the clock, he's speeding up like crazy. So I wouldn't be worried about his time management in this match. But Jose needs to step up in the second half of the match.
Yeah, I think Jose needs to deal with the closed positions a bit better. I mean, he's had some pretty good positions and he's been able to win a few games after a tough start. But I do think that when the position's locked up, he needs to play a little bit more quickly and not give Andrew a free hand. So on that note, we're going to take a quick break. When we return, it's more from Andrew Tang versus Jose Martinez here at the Bullet Chess Championship presented by DigitalOcean. And we return here to the Bullet Chess Championship presented by DigitalOcean. It is Andrew Tang. It is Jose Martinez. It is our third match of the day. And Anamaya, Andrew Tang out to a 6-3 lead halfway through this match. Jose, he found his footing. He won a few games in a row. That probably gave him some confidence, but Andrew was able to strike right back.
Absolutely, Robert. The match is definitely not over. It's a 3-point difference, but there's still 15 minutes left on the clock. So there's definitely room to come back again. And we saw that Jose is capable of coming back from a big score difference. So I'm really looking forward to see what he has to bring on in the second half of the match.
And here we go. So we see that black gives up the bishop pair and white striking forward with e5, opening up the position. Bad pawns, but active pieces. So Anamaya, it's a good start, especially on the clock for Andrew Tang.
Yeah, his pieces are very, very active already, whereas black's development, it's not so great. And indeed, there was queen e4 being threatened with a checkmate, but Jose stopped that with knight c5. And Andrew goes for h4 now with bishop g5.
Please take me. It opens up the rook, and instead it was f6 and the g6 square, all the light squares around the black king. And now rook to d1. Oh my goodness, every piece is activated.
Andrew is just not going to castle this game. He moved both of his rooks, basically saying, I'm not castling this game. Maybe he's going to play king to g1, but there is no need because he has a huge attack going on black's king.
Oh, well, you said attack, and Jose says, I don't think so. My king is now on c8, so the king is perfectly safe on the queen side, but now the h-pawn is running up the board.
The king has been able to escape from that disaster, but
97. Ooh.
97. Ooh, that is really unfortunate, and it's really hard to stop that h-pawn now, and we see resignation.
Well, that was really just kind of hitting the switch where Jose's, I'm sprinting over the queen side, and Andrew realized even in the end game, I have an outside pass pawn. So it's a very good understanding of the position, a 4-point lead for Andrew, and we're back to a closed Spanish in this game.
Yeah, exactly, Robert. Once you are, if you're confident about the position, there's no need to complicate things. You just simplify and go for the win that you feel most comfortable with.
Mm-hmm. And well, Jose is complicating things here, opening up the position, but it looks like that pawn capture and then the pawn push was incorrect. Castle's queen side.
That is
what?
That must have been a mouse slip, because you cannot take on e4 now, or maybe he has calculated this with d5, but you cannot take on e4.
Castle's queen side. Oh my gosh.
Wait a second, what is happening, Robert?
That was beyond shocking.
Bishop c5, rook e1, queen d3.
What is it? White winning all of a sudden? Because isn't white somehow up a piece now? Take on b7?
What on earth is happening? Suddenly white is up a piece and there is no danger here for the white king.
Yes, none indeed. And wow, queen d6, trying to go for rook takes h6, mating attack. But if you allow the rooks to double on the c file, it could be problematic. And that's why the bishop closes things down with bishop c5.
Rook takes h6, what a move.
Wow.
Queen g6 and rook h8 checkmate.
Can't stop it. There's actually zero you can pre-moves, and that's mate. So 7-4, still a 3-point lead for Tang, but that was one of the strangest games we've seen in this match.
Absolutely. Imagine playing long castle in such an open position and still being able to win that. That's just amazing.
Okay, now Jose with the black pieces. He's given up the bishop pair, but he's trying to get active very quickly. If pawn takes d5, the knight will take, and e4 is defended for now. So the bishop on c1, that's the bishop's advantage, but it doesn't look like much of an advantage in a closed position.
Exactly, yeah. The bishops are a little bit passive, and Jose is trying to create an attack on the king side here. The light squares are a little bit vulnerable. So
look at this now. Just can go h4. Yeah. Bishop f5 first, and now
defends
h4.
the pawn e4.
Mm-hmm.
And we are probably gonna see a knight move, perhaps to. You cannot. Well, you can take, but is it good?
Saying that white's getting back in this.
It's
now,
very unclear because now Black's king is open as well, and the White's king is just able to survive.
yeah, that was, I mean, just excellent defense. And rook e4. Oh gosh, this e3 pawn and takes it with the rook.
Wow.
Oh, there was rook takes
Sacrificing the
g4.
exchange.
Yeah, should have sacked on g4 and taken on e3 with the knight probably, but it's okay.
Wow. And now we are in this crazy endgame, and it's not easy for White here because the knights are defending super well, and it's Black here with a passer.
Yeah, and White should play a5 and take on b7 next. So it was a missed opportunity. I think that rook was just hanging. I'm trying to keep up. They're moving so quickly.
The moves
but...
are going very, very fast. But
Yes.
I believe you're right.
Okay, well, the king moving around, push the pawn, push it to f3. Oh, not knight
Knight
f3. Not knight f3.
And it's lost. You can't push that pawn. And
Wow. And just extra time for White and extra rook.
wow,
That is the game.
What a finish to that game. Suddenly, both players were in extreme, huge time trouble. And it's Andrew Tang taking down Jose in that game.
And now it's a 4-point lead. I'm looking at the match clock, 8.5 minutes left. So Jose needs to win these games. And he can no longer even afford a draw. He needs to win. And with the white pieces, it's looking kind of promising. He's just going right after Andrew's king, and he's doing so quickly.
Yeah, Black's king does not seem very comfortable. G5, now the H4 pawn is dropping, and as soon as the files are opening, it's obviously in White's favor here. So knight f5, really strong move to try to open up some more squares for the pieces, because after g takes, there was queen h5, and now with queen g4, knight takes g6.
Oh my gosh. So there's queen h5 coming if knight takes, and then you take on g6 because the bishop pins the pawn. If pawn takes, queen h4 is mate. That is a beautiful tactic.
Wow, and after king takes g6, there's even knight h4 check, winning the queen on d7.
Wow. Check, just take. There's no rook h8 because the knight helps guard the square. Queen h6 check. Would lead to mates of bishop takes g5 only try, but now your king is being just absolutely hunted here. And look at the extra time.
Yeah, Andrew is down on the clock by a lot. He had to struggle there with the king situation, so it makes a lot of sense that he spent a lot of time there. And now I was gonna say checkmate, but he's still surviving. Okay, now it's checkmate.
He only had a few seconds left, so he didn't really have a shot in this one, but great game by Jose. Seriously awesome attack from him, and he cuts the lead to 3. And now we'll see if Andrew's able to maintain his composure and not lose the thread of the match.
Absolutely, yeah, that was a really nice attack by Jose. And let's see what he has in this game. There was a bishop takes b2, possibly, perhaps. Oh, there was a threat. It was covered by knight d4.
Yes, Black's still doing very well with the bishop pair, but White is making his way forward. Not the end of the world. Bishop pair doesn't mean a win.
Yeah,
Okay.
the knight on d4 is pretty strong, and it's being kicked out now, but it can go to c5, attacking the pawn at a6, and a6 is the pawn that is very important. But yeah, queen a8.
If f3, there might just be bishop takes f3. I mean, that's what you have to
Yes.
put the end bullet, right?
Absolutely, and it's not so clear. There's
Okay,
a lot of possibilities here for Black to attack.
so giving up the a6 pawn. So, I mean, f5, f4 feels like something you kind of need to do, but now there's checks against your king.
Yeah, it feels a bit too slow in his position. Yeah.
There's a queen h3
H3.
king goes back to g1, but you can't afford a draw if you're Jose. I'm looking at the overall timer here. You need to win this game.
a6, the pawn is moving forward.
Play
Where
b4.
is Black's play? Is he
Probably
going for
play-
the repetition?
I guess so. And that's really good for Andrew. That's really, really good for him.
Yeah, it's still a 3-point difference. So, and with the match clock being 5 minutes left, that is not looking good for Jose.
No, but he does have enough time. He needs to win 2 games and still have enough time for one. Oh my goodness, that's just going to
Knight
be a checkmate.
f5. There we go again.
It's over.
It's almost the same position as in the previous game where Andrew was playing with the black pieces, and very similar attack.
Queen takes f5. Oh, look at that. It takes, now it goes back, takes, knight g5 is coming, rook h3 with a rook lift. E5 is loose. Take e5. 2 extra pawns and 8 extra seconds.
Despite having such a terrible position here, it's so impressive to see Andrew defending he's trying everything he can to be alive and keep on playing, because in the end, the time is that matters after checkmate. So if he's able to survive the checkmate, then it's going to be the time that's very important. But right now he's down on the clock, so it's not very comfortable for him. But as long as he keeps on dragging out the match clock, it's in his favor for sure.
And look at this maneuvering by Jose, getting the knight to c3 to kick this bishop out of here. You need to start pushing these pawns. Black was 1 move away from taking on d4. It takes it now, but it doesn't matter. You just get 1 pawn, but here comes this e-pawn. You remove the knight from the defense and just completely winning game. But you're right, Anamaya, you have to keep looking at the clock, because Andrew, he wants this, he'll just need to draw at some point, and then there won't be enough time remaining. But I mean, okay, Jose's completely winning right now.
Yeah, for sure. But it's just beautiful to see Andrew being able to drag it out for so long in such a lost position. And there you go, checkmate. Okay, 2-point difference now, 3 minutes left on the clock. It's still possible.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, Jose, if he wins this game, he will certainly have time for 1 more bullet game. So far, Jose's doing everything that was required of him to stay in this match.
Exactly, yes. And we see Andrew playing aggressively here with h4. Both players, it's very funny to see that they're playing very aggressively with the white piece is trying to attack as much as possible. And it works out pretty well.
Yeah, here comes g4 to just kick that knight away. I don't immediately see a checkmate, so that's what white will need to work on. But black is gasping for air in this position, just trying to gain space. d4. I mean, I think you just have to make a move like d4 and hope that it works out more than anything.
Exactly. Yeah, they often say when your opponent attacks on the side of the board, you have to try to attack in the center, and this is a very good example of that, which is why you want to play d4 here. There you go.
Yes, and unfortunately, it was done in an inopportune moment. But I thought that you had to play like this. But look at this massive pawns, Anamaya. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it really feels like white is playing with 10 pawns rather than 8.
Okay, but this feels loose. I don't know about this. I guess it's working out, but it feels really close.
Knight f5 check. Queen g2. It seems okay for white. Queen h3 and everything is covered. There's no check.
No checks. And is the queen trapped? The queen got trapped.
Out of all the places on the board, it's trap pair.
Wow.
Wow. The power of the bishops covering all the squares on the queen side. That's beautiful.
That was absurd. I mean, Jose was doing everything you could ask in order to try and win that game and stay in the match. And Andrew says, nope, not happening. And Andrew Tang has officially won the match. See, there's 1 minute and 40 seconds remaining. That's not enough time when you're down 3 points.
That was a really important game. And as you said, it's matched. That's it. There's 1.5 minutes left on the clock. And all Andrew needs to do is drag out the time pretty much.
Wow, that was something. And I'm still wrapping my head around that game where it looked like white's king was in trouble going all the way to h4. And yet, oh gosh, another problem here.
Oh, wait. Didn't take on G7?
Oh! Back rank checkmate.
Wow, that is some nice tactic there.
Still back rank checkmate.
You cannot. Well, you can take with the queen, but you can take with the rook because then another back rank.
Yeah, this is just 96, good move. Queen g4, but there's. Okay, I don't even know what's happening. There might have been queen a4. No, there wasn't queen a4. It was h5, f5. There are things happening. They're happening too fast to figure out.
Yeah, for sure. Both players are down on the clock again to around 20 seconds. Andrew even down to 30 seconds. And rook a8 loses the queen.
Ooh, and I don't like what Jose did. He could have went queen f6 with the bishop and led to a checkmate. Instead, he's going to flag Andrew. And it shouldn't really make a difference because Andrew's already locked this match up.
Oh, g5 drops the knight.
Take it.
And now you even have a pawn on f6, which makes your position so much stronger.
Queen e7 is nice. Like, you can't even take the queen when it was there.
Checkmate. Wow.
And see that? There still was 5 seconds remaining on the match clock when that game ended. So that's how important that Tang win in 2 games ago was. Because if Jose had not lost that game, there was enough time to get a couple games going, and unfortunately for him, he lost, and the match was out of hand.
For sure, yeah. And this is the final game of this match. Sadly, it means that Jose has lost the match. But what a match, Robert.
Yes, and for Tang, he started out with a win over Fabiano Caruana, and it was a really close match, surprisingly close to the majority of the audience. And then he came back with a vengeance in this match. I mean, he's renowned for his speed and skill, and Andrew was never really in too much danger in this match. He built up a lead. He lost some of it, but never was in danger of giving it up fully.
For sure, yeah. I'm absolutely happy to see the fighting spirit that Jose have. He's not giving up. He's playing to the end, and he got really, really close.
He did indeed. And this last game, I mean, look at this. Mistakes are happening. Knight takes d5 is possible. e6, trying to go for checkmate. Pawn takes e6.
e6.
Yeah. Trying to go for mate, but the queen would have defended. So, you don't want to play g6? It's diagonal. Scary.
Yeah,
I thought bishop g4 maybe. It's going to rook f6.
Yeah, you would say black must be better here, but it's super, super difficult to play here for black because white is just pressing on the king side. e6.
Scary. It just takes the rook because he took the knight. There was rook takes g6. Oh gosh, this king's in trouble, isn't it? Rook d5.
Rook
what a nice
d5.
move.
Yeah, and there's no check, and there's no way to stop rook h5, and yeah. He finds a way to survive. It's unbelievable. And okay, he's gonna flag.
Yeah, but just the fact he didn't lose, and look at Jose ending at 30-99. So these players, by rating, they're approximately level. This match decided by 1 point in the end. It felt like these players were quite good competitors for one another, but in the end, only one player could win. Andrew Tang, based on the start of the match, he was able to conclude it as the champ.
Yeah, both players played amazing games here. This match at the start was very one-sided, but then Jose was able to close down the gap and got so close. But now Jose moves on to the losers bracket, and I'm very looking forward to see him in his next match.
Well, our next match, the one ahead, I don't think people are going to be disappointed about this one. It is Hikaru Nakamura. It is Brandon Jacobson. They will be our final match of the day here at the Bullet Chess Championship presented by DigitalOcean. On mine, I will take a quick breather. We'll be back soon for that finale of today's action.
Hey, Carl.
Hey, Todd.
Deborah says you're working on a fancy app or something.
You know, hold on. Not really working on it yet. I just don't know which cloud service to go with.
Well, I've got a cousin on my queen's side that swears by DigitalOcean. Says they're easy to use, have straightforward pricing, and really focus on making developers happy.
DigitalOcean, huh? I'm gonna check them out.
What the hell? Dude, how are you doing that?
I'm not. Want to play chess online or learn how to improve? Join us at the #1 chess destination in the world, chess.com. With hundreds of thousands of people playing at any moment, you'll quickly find a game with someone at your level, whether you're a total beginner or a grandmaster. You can play games at any pace against friends, other members, or one of our many computer personalities. Chess.com makes improving fun and easy. Sharpen your game with tactics puzzles and enhance your strategy with our videos and lessons by top masters. Learn from your own games with Chess.com's easy-to-use analysis tool. Regardless of your skill level, Chess.com has all you need to take your game to the next level. Chess.com is your go-to source for chess news, live coverage of tournaments, events, and everything in between. Experience Chess.com anytime and anywhere, whether you're at home on your computer or on the go with our mobile apps. Signing up is free and easy, so what are you waiting for? Join Chess.com today.
The second leg of the FIDE Grand Prix is nearing its conclusion, and the coverage continues on chess.com. The semifinals are underway, featuring Anish Giri, Dimitri Andreikin, Richard Rapport, and Maxime Vacher-Legrave. Join Grandmaster Benjamin Bach and Women's Grandmaster Kedit Tsatslasvili for all the action on chess.com and twitch.tv/chess and YouTube. You know where to find them. You will not want to miss that action. But right now, we're in the middle of the action at the Bullet Chess Championship. We're in the winners quarterfinals, the final matchup of the day. It is Hikaru Nakamura, your arena king, for this Wednesday, taking on Grandmaster Brandon Jacobson. Anamaya, we have the insights in front of us. I am just floored by the number of bullet games that Brandon has played.
Absolutely. Yeah. Upon seeing this, I am mind blown. Like, I believe he's the #1 player when it comes to the amount of games played in bullet. 7,801 games.
Yeah, that would kind of indicate that this isn't his first rodeo, but it is just ridiculous the number of games he's played, and he wins on the clock a good amount. So Hikaru is the more accurate player, but we'll see how quick Brandon can be in this match.
Yeah, and seeing that Hikaru's only lost by flag 10% of his games, that is a very low percentage.
Good luck is what those numbers say. You may flag all the slower players out there, the players who aren't super grandmasters that you face. I'm not going to lose on time against you, at least not very often, but the players are getting set up. Of course, Hikaru just playing Arena Kings. It looks like Brandon, it might even be somewhere in public. I don't know what's going on, but we have both players ready for their match.
Yeah, and the game has started. Before we look into the game, let me remind you of the community poll we have going on, guys. Make sure to vote in the chat who you think is gonna win this match. You can vote by saying in the chat either Hikaru or Brandon, and yeah, make sure to get involved, everyone.
I think we know how that poll is gonna go, but let's see how the games start here. So right now, Hikaru with the white pieces. He's a bit more space thanks to his pawn E5, but look at this knight coming into D3. The rook on the D file is good, and here comes his B pawn with a fork. Oh, wow.
Yeah, knight takes F4. Wow, nice tactic.
And honestly, black is a better position and is approximately level on the clock.
Yeah. Yeah, both players are playing pretty fast. E5 pawn is under huge pressure now, and actually just dropped there. But on A7 is also hanging, so...
But bishop D4. That's why he couldn't take on A7. There was bishop D4 tactics.
Ooh.
I mean, Brandon's up a pawn.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks really nice. But how do you deal with this knight on C4? Because there's no way you can kick this knight out of there.
Okay, so he's just making... It's a white has fewer pawns on the king side, and yeah, bit of passive defense for black for the moment, but I think you got to go after this G4 pawn. Now Hikaru's a lead on the clock.
Yeah, it's very close on the clock, but Hikaru's just pushing on the queen side here, and it's really hard to stop that B pawn.
Okay, but the white king is trying to go up to A7 at some point, maybe, because the rook on C8 covers the knight. So then the B and the A pawns are just they're going. Can't stop.
And the knight and the rook are both stopping that G pawn from promoting. And the white pawn is just promoting. And there we go. Resignation from Brandon. Wow. That was such a promising game from Brandon, but suddenly things went wrong and Hikaru took the upper hand.
Yeah, no, Hikaru was too fast, too strong in the critical moments of the game, but Brandon was better. Then he slowed down. He was also ahead on the clock in addition to being up a pawn. So he can't take those pauses. You can't afford against Hikaru. You also can't afford to make these kind of mistakes against Hikaru where your position is about to collapse in the opening.
Yeah, that knight on b3 is super, super dangerous. Takes that bishop on d2 now, and the knight on c3 is not looking happy here. The rook on a8 is gonna come into the position now. And how do you defend that knight? King d2, it's not a move you want to make. And resignation is followed. b3.
That was a miniature, and you just allowed Hikaru to open up the position whilst King was in the center, and that was not a good one. So Hikaru up to early 2-0 lead, and Brandon, he played well in the first game. That second game was not a good one. He'll look to improve here in the third.
Knight f6, what a move. Making sure that you have the bishop against the knight, and the bishop on d5 is super strong.
Yeah, that bishop can't be kicked out if there's no pawn. You would like to be able to put a pawn e6 or c6, not available to you. But the knight can outclass bishops in a bunch of positions. But it looks like Hikaru is ready, and he does play f4, kicks the knight out, and the d6 pawn's the target.
Yeah, and Brennan is trying to reroute that knight to a better place, but I'm not sure where that knight is going after it will go to e6. It doesn't have a nice square accessible for the knight. So for now, it stays on f8, and Brennan is trying to find some play on the queen side here, but it's not enough. Hikaru is defending really, really well here. Yeah,
and trying to keep the b3 pawn as a target, but if you take on d6, you lose e3. So Hikaru just pushing his pawns to the board. Uh-oh, there's going to be a problem with the dark squares here. Rook takes b3, only chance.
And what do you do? He goes for queen takes f6, and he has a really strong pawn on f7 now.
It's over.
And yeah, the position is just falling apart.
Rook 8, just trade rooks, because after the trade, you can't stop f8 equals queen.
That's actually crazy. Imagine, like, the pawn is cornering that king, and at the same time, you just can't stop that pawn. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, that was just a really nicely spotted idea by Hikaru, and he got his pawns at the board, and Brendan was not able to deal with it. And so we're in game 4, 3-0 in Hikaru's favor. And Hikaru, look at his, he's 33-28. Are you serious? I didn't know that.
Robert.
Well, obviously I know Hikaru's, he is the final boss, right? But I didn't know he was 33-28.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's not double my rating, but it almost feels that way,
My goodness. Oh,
yeah,
knight takes e5, removing the guard of the knight c5.
What a nice tactic there. Yeah, he's spotting it all. And he's at the same time very, very fast.
Wow. I just can't get over the rating, honestly.
Knight d7 after knight takes, rook takes c1, and bishop takes c3, check.
So what a spot. So so quickly, he's up 8 seconds, and he's playing these cool tactics. Because if you ever move this knight, as you were saying, rook c1, bishop e3.
Yeah, it's like all of all the pieces, all the puzzle pieces are just like they all fit in this big puzzle, and it all works. Oh, so, but the pawn goes to a2, and you have to make sure that you can stop that. For now, the knight on a1, knight can go to a1, but it's not very comfortable here for white.
No, but it almost feels like black can't really make progress. But then again, is white going to king c2, king b2?
Oh.
Found a way. Take that pawn. Oh, but look at
that is a progress here. But now rook on c3, and the pawn on e3 is hanging, and all the other pawns will follow. Bishop on c3. With the check.
He wants a mate on h8. That's like the one thing that you have to avoid if you're Hikaru. But it looks like he has everything under control. Oh, rook a5. What a nasty move to play in someone's time trouble.
Oh yeah, that seems like there was a pre-move being canceled there, and yeah, it's 4-0.
And Brandon, in addition to the problems he's facing against Hikaru, he's facing connection problems, it looks like. So I don't know if he's in a computer room or where exactly he's playing from, but his lag now is kicking in.
Yeah, that is not ideal here, especially in the bullet match. Time is so important. So I really hope to see him speed up here, but it's really difficult, especially against Hikaru. He is not slowing down.
No, Hikaru slows down for nobody. So is jumping into the center here. The bishop went to f8 just to make sure the knight was defended. And the dark squares, this bishop on e2 is useless against the, okay, I would even consider taking on d5, and you can also then take on c5 next, but get rid of this knight.
Oh, wow. C5 is really creative, and Brandon just ignored that.
You know, I mean, Brandon, you can tell he's not quite feeling it, and maybe it's just the Hikaru effect where you play against Hikaru and you figure I'm going to get crushed. This is not good. But you know, he had a good position, and he also knows that a light square bishop against a knight on a d4 square, I mean, the knight often wins those kind of battles.
Absolutely, I like how you call it the Hikaru effect. We should make that into an actual term. The Hikaru effect.
It's true. I mean, when you're playing Magnus, when you're playing Hikaru, the people who tend to do the best are the people who are fearless, right? Where they know that maybe the expected score is not in their favor, but they can just play, right? They don't have to worry about the aura of Hikaru. So Hikaru is playing great bullet right now, a5. He's going to try to play a4 at some point, so that's why Brandon stopped it before it could even become an option. And the d6 pawn?
D6 pawn is hanging now. It's you can defend it. f5 is a really nice move, and d5 is a good attempt to try to save the pawn, but it's just free.
So now Brandon's up a pawn, and he's maneuvering his knight around. Okay, rook to d, bishop d5 is also good. The rook's coming d5. He's up a pawn, but his pawns can't move yet. That's why he brought his king to d4.
Yeah, I'm extremely worried about the pawns here on e4 and f5 and g6, because once they push, it's going to be really difficult for Brandon. And it's exactly what Hikaru is going for here, but he's taking it slowly now. Yeah, he has to defend that pawn on a5. And how is Brandon going to continue? Is he going to push a pawn? c5, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
And how is Hikaru going to respond here? He pushes the pawn to e3.
And now
yeah, how do you progress?
It's under attack a few times, and go see that's one of those moves that I don't think is correct, because now you're down the clock and Hikaru's endgame isn't particularly bad. So it looks like Brent tried to play for a win by moving the king to f2, but now he isn't even up material. And okay, take on g6.
Yeah, it's much easier for Hikaru to play here. Hikaru is the one giving checks all the time, and Brandon has to play really fast. And yeah, it's just not fast enough.
Wow. And
6-0. Yeah, we have to give Brandon credit here, because he is putting up a great fight against Hikaru. Almost all of the 6 games have been very, very strong. He even had chances in 2 of those games, so he's definitely putting up a great fight. But it's just you just have to defeat Hikaru many, many times in one game to get a point.
It's a good way of putting it, right? You get a winning advantage. It doesn't matter, because Hikaru is as resourceful as they come in terms of defense. So Hikaru right now on the white side of this position, he's down a few seconds. So
drops a knight. That's a very expensive one.
Oh, yeah. Expensive knights are often the ones you remember the most as well. So, that's not good for Brandon. This is also not looking very good, as Hikaru is going for an attack on the king side. And it just feels like game after game, Hikaru is getting what Hikaru wants.
Absolutely. Knight g4 threatening to take on h2, as well as knight e3 check. So rook h1 is one of the very few moves that defends those big threats. But now the fork happened anyway. Before I could even finish my sentence, another fork was in the air. And yeah, we're at 8-0. I really, really hope we're not gonna see an adoption, Robert.
You know, I'm just watching. I'm letting Hikaru's moves do the talking at this point, because what else is there to say? You're playing against just a superstar, and this actually is a good position for Brennan, because Hikaru's gonna have to take what?
Is there no knight takes f3? Queen takes c8.
That looked really good for black anyway, but he goes for this variation instead. And I mean, Hikaru he worms his way out of really bad. Knight d3 is an option at any moment, just to go after this. And
queen a6 covers the d3 square now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that looked like a missed opportunity for Brandon, but he's still having a nice attack here. Queen takes f4.
Oh, it's mate. No, it's not mate. The bishop is closed off. So he
First
takes
trade
the
of the
bishop
rooks
f4.
and the bishop f4. Yeah.
Yeah. King g7, king. Nice. You don't want to allow the queen in there.
Oh, the king is escaping.
Wow, the king's just running away. I mean, it looked like he won the game, and now he's gonna lose.
Wow. And he doesn't have time either. And White has just a bunch of pawns here. That was a really, really good chance of Brandon, and very unfortunate that he wasn't able to make use of that.
And I'm also trying to figure out where exactly Brandon's playing from, because it looks like his camera's shaking, which means he's probably playing on like a laptop. And every time every time he makes a move, like it shakes the computer he's playing on.
Yeah, that's a very interesting thing you're noticing there.
But doesn't matter what he's playing on, because Hikaru literally doesn't care. He's gonna try to beat him no matter what.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, about that. I like what Brandon is trying here on the king side, but the knight on g5 is a little loose and it drops a pawn now, and it was not enough. It really looked like a nice attack, but the knight was hanging there, and yeah, now the attack is over.
And Hikaru trades the rooks. Now it's a clear extra pawn. Black has more space. The bishop on c2 is useless, as often happens. And it looks like a Spanish. And how many pawns is? 2 pawns. Black is up. Bishop b7.
Yeah, and the king is completely exposed. It's barely surviving there on e2. And Robert, I'm not happy to say this, but we have an adoption. I believe this is the first one in the Bula Chess Championship of 2022. So, that's a very rough one.
I mean, Hikaru doing Hikaru things. That's all you got to say about this. Knight g4 is about to happen, and then knight h6 would be checkmate. That's what I'm already looking at. Knight c6 is also a threat.
Yeah, this is just very, very rough for Black. All sorts of tactics in the air. The knight on e4, it looks really good there, but after f3, you have to move back, and it doesn't have really nice scores. Queen c3. I was hoping that there are some knight f6 checks, but not possible. Yeah, and just trading off to a winning endgame.
I was wondering if Hikaru should play b5, because when his bishop was on d5, the knight couldn't get out. So at least for Brendan, he has some chances, as there's only 1 pawn extra for White.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's a pawn up, so they should be winning. But yeah, and also like with the pawns on both sides, like the bishop is always stronger than the knight.
That's right. And I think that perhaps Brendan had to take and play a5. And no, this is just
f7.
Well, we have a break in the action. I think that I don't know what to think besides the score. I mean, 11-0.
Yeah, it's so sad because Brandon is trying his best. He's doing super, super well, but the draw is just not happening. Hikaru is too strong. He's completely dominating this match. And I really hope we're gonna see some sort of comeback in the second half of this match.
Well, we'll see if Brandon can score a few victories. I mean, of course, at this point, the match is already over. There's no point of pretending otherwise. Hikaru Nakamura will move on to face Daniel Naroditsky in the next matchup, so that would be great. But for now, we're going to take a quick rest, and when we return, it's the second half of this match between Hikaru Nakamura and Brandon Jacobson at the Bullet Chess Championship, presented by DigitalOcean. We only found it right to apprise you of what's going on. It seems that Brandon Jacobson has lost internet on his computer, so he's trying to rejoin on his phone. So Anamaya, that shouldn't help his cause as he's trying to win the second half of this match.
Absolutely, Robert. It's the first half of the match didn't go his way for sure, but we really hope to see him back for the second half of the match, and we are trying to connect with him and see if he's still able to play the second half of the match.
He seems like he wants to, he's willing, and we have had 3 other matches before this one. So if you're just tuning in for the match between Hikaru and Brandon, which has been particularly lopsided, they started the day in a similar way. Daniel Naroditsky beat Ray Robson 15-3. That was quite surprising, given they both were around 3,200 to start. And then we had Minh take down Raunuk. That was a relatively close battle, but in the second half, that's where Minh pulled away. And then Anamaya, the Jose match against Andrew Tang, that was a nail biter.
Yeah, absolutely. That was Andrew Tang had such a great start, but Jose fought back really, really well and made it so close. But Andrew still took down Jose in the match final score.
That's right. So Andrew had a hot start. Then Jose won a few in a row, but Andrew was still able to win that matchup. So we're still awaiting the next games here. We are going to head on for a very short break just to make sure that Brandon can get set and resume the games. So, oh, wait a second. Getting word literally as I talk. So it seems like the games are about to begin. So they're about ready here. So I was going to send a quick break to make sure that we could get ready. Turns out we are ready. Anamaya, are you ready?
I am ready. Let's get on with the second half of the match.
Okay, well, I guess Brandon will be playing from his phone. I have played Bullet from my phone many times. It usually doesn't go that well for me.
Yeah, I'm also not a good fast player on my phone. Even when I play Blitz, like I play 3-0 sometimes on my phone and I get flagged as if it's nothing. So that's a big no from me. But I know there's many players out there that play Bullet, that love playing Bullet on their phone.
Honestly, Brandon's up 10 seconds and has a very nice position. So maybe next time he should start playing on the phone because, knight h4, there's going to be something on the g6 square. Oh, okay.
There is some knight f5.
Knight f5 looks very interesting. Rook a3, a rook lift. Maybe there's some kind of bishop c5. There he goes. And knight f5.
There
you called it.
Yes.
And rook g3.
And,
rook
yeah, you
h3.
can also consider taking on d6. Oh, now it's not possible anymore. But yeah, looked like a free pawn. But yeah, you need to have something more in this position because obviously you sacrifice the piece here. And queen g6, and Hikaru is able to settle down on the king side and stop the attack. Knight takes e4, what a move.
Yeah, walking into a pin because of the back range checkmate. That's just a disaster. And for Brandon, good start to the game, but Hikaru was very tactically alert.
Yeah, knight takes e4 is such a natural move to play, but it works. It works. For Hikaru, everything works.
That's actually seems like how the day has gone. Everything has worked out for Hikaru, and for Brandon, he's playing more quickly. Like he clearly is doing a better job at the start of the game in these last two, ever since we returned from the break. And that was the hanging pawn structure. What?
Takes the whoa, bishop. I don't know what's happening. There's so many pieces hanging.
He wanted queen g5, but then he realized that there was bishop return to h3 to defend it. So that's why he took on g2. And it's even material. Black's king probably a little bit safer right now, especially the rook d5. Instead it was queen g5 check. But can you take queen h1?
Queen h1, king e2. Yeah, it's not so clear.
But I think you just have to go queen h1, take on h2.
Yeah.
Like, you don't really have a choice. All right, queen d6.
g5. It's not so clear. Like the white king is doing pretty good job surviving there, but now there's some chances
h6.
Nice move.
Yeah, to be that calm. I think tempting was rook f5 or something, but now you can just give some checks. Give it. Oh gosh, if the queen goes to g3.
Oh, okay. It trades down with being up 2 pawns now.
But the problem is he's playing on his phone, so you end up going more slowly when you're playing on mobile, and we'll see if he's able. Oh, there's rook f2 check if you take on
Oh,
f7.
what a nice tactic. Rook e1, keeping up that
Rook e5.
check in the position. Rook e5 is a beautiful move, but he goes for the pawn instead, and he cannot defend both pawns now. So he loses one pawn, but there is no way that Brandon loses this unless he flags. So we have to cross fingers here that he doesn't flag, but it should be a draw, and Hikaru is not giving that draw to him so easily.
No, and now
suddenly it's winning.
It's winning, but Hikaru is playing to win. Down a pawn, losing position, it doesn't matter. Hikaru is trying to flag it, but now Hikaru might get flagged. Check. Okay, it's a draw.
Oh, he made a draw. He broke this streak. After all, he did it. He did it.
And he knocked Hikaru under 3350. I say 20. Like, you don't think of chess ratings over 3,000, but for Hikaru Nakamura and chess.com server, yeah, his ratings are over 3,000. So he was knocked below 3350.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy rating there. What is happening in this position? What happened to Brandon's development? It looks very odd with the rook on a1, queen on b1, and the other rook on c1. It almost looks like a chess 960 position.
Yeah, it doesn't look great if we're being honest here. But what Brandon's aiming for is to try. What? He allowed pawn takes e3. That's very surprising. He could have just moved his pawn instead. And now it's very, very, very bad news for Brandon.
Yeah, Hikaru is completely dominating on the king side here, and it's very difficult to come back from this for Brandon. And for Hikaru, it's just making sure that all the pieces are involved. You finish it up.
Yeah, so Hikaru just trying to look at this pawns, all in the dark squares. That's a dark squared bishop. Not happy to see the pawns going like this, and forcing the queen trade, otherwise mate.
Yeah, and we see resignation here. Hikaru back up to 3351 now. What a rating.
Yeah, no, he's going to be happy about that. He's back to his winning ways. And, for Brandon, still 9 more minutes left in this match, but you probably want it to be over sooner rather than later.
Absolutely, yeah, I would fully believe that. Hikaru's trying to push b4 here, but if he plays b4, it will open up the a file, so he probably wants to keep that in the position for now and decide later on if he wants to do that.
That's right. And so a4 played by Brandon, trying to open up the a file himself, or if the opponent pushed to b4, then I could have gone to b3. So that goes back to e6, but this looks like white is just trying to keep this extra pawn.
Yeah, it's actually interesting to see the a-pawn being so well defended, and you just cannot lose it. But well, here it is being traded for the pawn on d6, so that is a good trade for white here. And rook d8 allowing queen f8 check, and that is not looking good, both for the king as well as the rook, because the rook is simply hanging. Yeah, that's very unfortunate.
Yeah, rook d8 check was a threat, because the queen was loose on e7. So Brandon moved the queen to avoid rook d8 check, but walked into even more powerful rook d8. And this variation from Hikaru, he's played it so many times, and that's why Brandon put the pawn h4, not to allow bishop h3 to trade bishops.
Very clever of him. The bishop on d7 is not so great, and it doesn't really have a good square. It definitely has a future, that for sure, but it doesn't look so great. The queen on h6 is very odd place, and that's why Brandon decides to put it back on d2. He probably needs to put the knight on d4 now to make sure that the knight is on a better spot. Bishop g4, attacking the rook. Do you want to play f3 here? Okay, he goes for rook c1, making sure that the c2 pawn is well defended.
Yeah, and keeping an eye on this d5. But your point is very well taken on Amai, that the knight wants to go to d4, and maybe now's the time, knight e2 to d4.
Absolutely. You do have to be careful with the pawn on f2. It's definitely hanging there. So that's probably why he doesn't play just yet. Knight e4 is not a nice move to see. But queen g5 is still in a position, and he takes a pawn on e7.
f4 is possible, then queen goes to g7. So maybe just go queen takes d6. We see a queen trade and rook d8. Oh no, back rank checkmate problems.
Knight e3, he was able to save that very, very quickly. And yeah, this is a very, very complicated position because it looked like white was doing great, but now the rook is trapped. And that's when Brendan resigns. Wow. That looked really promising for Brendan, but suddenly his rook got trapped. That's really unfortunate.
That's what happens when you play Hikaru. You're like, yes, my position looks good. Oh, 5 moves later, nope, I'm completely lost. That didn't go so well. Just, Hikaru, when he's in this kind of form, he's unstoppable.
Exactly, Robert. And this knight on c6 is quite a monster. There are so many tactics in this position. Instead, Hikaru goes back to b4. Okay, knight on d5 is still super, super strong, and he should have a positional advantage here for sure.
Yes, and just control. Rook takes c6 is a tactic about to happen. That's why I played e4. Oh, but don't do it now because it's back rank checkmate, I think. Like rook c6,
yeah,
rook c6,
right.
rook takes, queen takes, knight e7. You win the queen, but you get checkmated on the back rank.
You're right. That's why Hikaru played h4, and now there's even knight b6 in a position. And yeah, what do you do about that?
You probably think about crying because it's been that kind of match. You then realize that it's just a game. You'll be all right. And then you say, there's still 5 minutes left in this match. I have to take more of this bullet, beat down from Hikaru.
I need that during my games, Robert. I need someone to tell me it's all right and have those words of encouragement. We could all use that, Robert.
I mean, I'm happy, if you ever playing an event, I'll just send you a message, be like, remember, it's just a game. It will be okay. But
fantastic. Thank you, Robert.
Oh, what's happening here? Drop the pawn in the center. Yep, that's a pretty important pawn, and you take out d3 next, and
yep,
boy,
that's a very important pawn. There's still 4 minutes left on the match clock, so we still have at least 2 games going on after this one.
I think Brandon's losing on time on purpose so the match can end. That's what I think is happening. No, I mean completely serious. Like, otherwise he would just resign. But if you resign, that means you have to play more games. So he's just going to let the clock go to 0.
Has this ever happened before, Robert? I don't want to be that guy, but this doesn't really happen often.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's one of these situations where, yes, Hikaru is the heavy favorite, but 17.5, look at this, queen f6.
At first, I was confused whether Brendan was able to take the bishop or no, but
I think we need to analyze this in detail. So he's deciding, does he take on f6 with the pawn or with the knight? It's a very critical decision. So when you only have a minute for the entire game, you do want to spend about 35 to 45 seconds on this move. So we'll see how Brandon takes this bishop.
Yeah, it's very important to keep in mind that if you take with the pawn, you will ruin your posture.
I think this was chess.com's way of being like, let's end this match. Yeah, this is match over, so it's in the books. I think we can just call it. Hikaru Nakamura obviously wins by an extremely large margin, and so oh gosh, I mean, what can we even say about what we just saw?
Well, Robert, it was. I mean, we've talked about domination many times throughout the day, but this is the definition of total domination in a match. And we see a rematch. Okay.
What?
The match is still going on, Robert.
Oh my gosh. I thought that was like, oh, it's over. They're tricking us. Is that the chess.com version of being debated?
Yeah, pretty much.
I use that Twitch terminology correctly?
Absolutely. Yes, I can definitely confirm that.
Okay. Well, it seems like Brandon's internet has been going down left and right. And so
yeah, what a moment to have a game aboard.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I think I don't know if we can do this, right? The show must go on. as they say in Moulin Rouge. So I can't just be like, let's just put the 2 minutes down to 0 minutes, for everybody's sake. But Hikaru wants his rating points.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, there's a fork in a position, but it will equalize the material a little bit. And the pawn b4 is so far doing a good job. And Brandon is doing a good job. Pawn a4 is dropped, and now we can think of having winning chances.
So yeah, Brandon just has a pass pawn, and the knight isn't doing anything. Maybe the knight's gonna get trapped actually.
Yeah.
Oh, knight g5 check.
96, 98 check, and that's how the knight. Oh no!
Oh my goodness! Not like this.
No. How does Hikaru do this? How does he always find like the knight was in such a trap position and he still manages to get a fork out of this? And Brandon tried the desperado there. Did you see that? Huh? He's in full trolling mode.
I think the problem is that the chat doesn't understand how strong these last few moves are, right? You're saying, oh, the engine, these are terrible blunders. No, this is strategic game planning. So let's just take a moment here to understand the last few moves. So the pawn went up to h5, and the rook came up to h3 because rook lifts are always fun. You should always play them. And after e5, rook f3. Well, what's better than putting a knight on f3? A rook, because that rook's in the attack. And after pawn takes d4, no, we don't have to deal with a threat on our knight. Come on, we don't have to run away from our problems. We're going to go forward with rook f6. After bishop takes f6, that is when the match timer will eventually hit 0. It's 10 seconds away. He has 14 seconds. He is saving us from talking more about this match because Hikaru Nakamura is going to win this game, and he has won the match.
Thanks, Robert. Thanks. I was writing all of that down. It's very important to know all of this. Thank you so much. I could definitely use that in my next bullet games for sure.
Okay, well, I was just making sure that everybody was understanding what's happening. What we do understand is that Hikaru Nakamura is the player to beat in the Bullet Chess Championship presented by DigitalOcean. I thought that was Daniel Naroditsky based off of his win over Ray Robson. That was extremely one-sided. But Hikaru said, yeah, Danya, we're going to play next round. So I'm going to let you know, you're put on notice that I'm here to win this thing.
Absolutely, Robert. Yeah, so the match has ended after all. Brandon is moving on to the losers bracket, so we will see him back tomorrow, actually, in another match. And Hikaru is moving on to the next match in the winners bracket.
Yeah, I think Brandon has to play against Fabiano in the losers bracket. So you lose to Hikaru, you play Fabiano. That sounds like good punishment. But in all seriousness, Brandon does have good chances in that matchup. Fabiano has been improving in speed chess online. You can see in the Rapid Chess Championship and even the Title Tuesdays. But Brandon has been playing for a long time. So if he can maybe get a more stable connection, if he doesn't have to play on his phone or the touchpad or whatever he was doing. So somebody help that streamer out because he needs the proper equipment.
Absolutely, Robert. Yeah, really looking forward to see him at his best. And I'm really looking forward to the match against Fabiana Caruana.
That's right. Well, we're going to head to a quick break, but when we return, we will have the DigitalOcean match of the day to recap some of today's action. So you will not want to miss that. We'll be back in just a few.
Hey, Carl.
Hey, Todd.
Deborah says you're working on a fancy app or something?
Hold on. Not really working on it yet. I just don't know which cloud service to go with.
Well, I've got a cousin on my Queens side that swears by DigitalOcean. Says they're easy to use, have straightforward pricing, and really focus on making developers happy.
DigitalOcean, huh? I'm gonna check them out.
What the hell? Dude, how are you doing that?
I'm not.
in a day of lopsided matches, it looked like the one between Andrew Tang and Jose Martinez was going to be more of the same. Andrew Tang was out to a 4-game lead against Jose Martinez. The only reason this match was close was because Jose had a win in this game. And this is your DigitalOcean match of the day. And Anamaya, this game out of the start, it was Jose looking like he was really reeling from those previous losses.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a 4-0 advantage for Andrew here. So Jose definitely needed to come back. And in this game, everything happened, and we did not expect this to happen. It started with a Danish gambit, actually. White taking the center early on, but Black pushing back here with d5, trying to take control of the center back and making sure that the pawns are actually weak here in the center.
That's right, because if you take on d5, which would happen in the game, as you're pointing out, there is an isolated pawn. So White could have played e5. Instead, we got this position. And just after a few more moves, Anamaya, Black looks very active at this moment. And there's a pin on the bishop, the knight on c3. There's pressure on the f3, the d4 pawn's in some trouble. But these types of positions are very double-edged.
For sure, yeah. So as you said, Black's development is really, really nice. The knight will soon go out to f6, and Black gets to decide whether they want to go to short castle or long castle. But at the same time, White also gets to have a nice development, and this pawn on d4 will be a little bit shaky.
That's right. And the engines were saying, oh, castle and queen sets out of knight f6. This is bullet chess. We don't care what the engine has to say. What we really care about are the fun blunders and the awesome tactics. Because in d5, which was a mistake, and the reason why, look at that. There is your brilliancy. I know everybody watching is jealous because they don't get those brilliant C's very often here. But no, Andrew Tang says, I can find a way to get my king to safety. And this pawn on d5 is pinned and under attack. So Anamaya, after queen b3, the move knight takes d5 was played. Still a good move. I don't know why it's given a question mark. These engines are too harsh, you know? But in this moment here, it looked like Black is just a pawn ahead.
Absolutely, yeah. And the knight on f3 is not having a great time there. It looks like, I mean, in the next move, White could possibly take on f7, but it's not the pawn you want to take because it will cause so much trouble that you're opening even more files for Black to attack your king. So definitely looking like a good position here for Black.
That's right. And Tang went queen c5, which was a mistake because bishop e3. Bishop e3 is still a good move, hitting the queen. The queen ran to f5, and after bishop takes f7, the problem was after bishop takes f3, there's bishop e6 check. I don't have to take your bishop just because you took my knight. I'll throw on this check and win your queen. So Tang went king to b8. We saw knight to g5, and Anamaya just a really complicated position at this point.
Yeah, for sure. Typically, the knight on g5, it should be like a terrible piece over there because it is exposed to moves like h6, and it barely has any squares left. But because of the fact that there's bishop e6 followed by bishop takes g4 and the knight f7, White is definitely some chances here. And it's not so clear for Black anymore.
And that's exactly kind of what happened here was h6 was played. Bishop takes g4, pawn takes g5. There's an open h file, which is good for the rook here against the white king. But after move h3, you have nothing to attack with. The bishop and pawn protect one another. And after bishop a5, rook c1, bishop b6, we saw this trade happen. And here was a huge blunder by Tang.
Yeah, Tang played knight d4 here. It looks like a really good move. It's trying to put pressure on the trying to go to the king side, but it drops queen takes c7, a really important pawn here because after king a7, White played rook c4 here, and suddenly Black should be worried about getting checkmated.
And we were worried for Tang. He was undoubtedly worried, but he plays b5, attacking the rook, taking away the a4 square. Rook c3, b4. Please don't checkmate me. I'm going to do the same thing once more. And after queen a5 check, scooping up this pawn on b4. Anamaya, I'll let you do the honors because this was a moment that caught us both off guard.
Yeah, so it looks like White is absolutely winning here, but the next couple of moves are absolutely mind-blowing. So Andrew realized, okay, he's in trouble here. And what he found here was queen f4. Now, queen f4, it's a really active move, but what does it do? It threatens queen takes g4. After pawn takes, there's knight e2 checkmate because the rook is covering the h file and the king has nowhere to go anymore. And this was actually missed by Jose. Jose played rook c4, and suddenly there was queen takes g4 in the position.
That's right. And the reason why rook c4 was played and kind of needed to save the queen, because not only was it queen takes g4, there was knight e2 check to start with. The queen was loose on b4. So as you saw, queen b6 was the way to go, because if the bishop on g4 is captured, then white would be able to deliver a checkmate. With rook c4, queen takes g4, and that move gets 2 exclamation points. I mean, we were floored, and black now is completely winning. But Anamaya, bullet, things happen.
Things happen, absolutely. I mean, it's already incredible to see this moves, the sequence of moves happen during a board game, but what happened next was absolutely crazy. So white moves on here with rook e1, trying to make the best out of the position. And here, black made the move rook takes h3, not playing knight e3 check in order to capture the rook on e1. And actually, after king h1, there was the move rook takes h3. Followed by checkmate.
Exactly. It would have been a checkmate along the h file, the knight helping out. And if the king went to f1, there's actually many tactics, but here queen takes c4 takes, and a nice fork on d2. Black would be up all the material on the board. But missing these tactics, it happens in bullet, but then you may pay the consequences, because after rook takes h3, we saw rook takes d4, and look at that move, right? You're giving up your rook, it would seem, but the queen needs to stay on g4 to pin the pawn, because this rook would be lost. And on my rook takes d4 was worse for black.
Absolutely. Rook takes d4 is allowing white to play rook e8 check, and suddenly black's king is in trouble again. King c7 was played, followed by queen c5 check, and suddenly we have a checkmate in 2. Rook e7 check, followed by queen c7 checkmate forced.
I mean, that was a really nice conclusion to what was an absolutely wild game. And that's the only reason that Jose was able to keep this a close match, because he was down 4-0. It was about to be 5-0, but he, after blundering the bishop on g4, found a way to strike back with rook takes d4 and then going for the attack. So this was your DigitalOcean match of the day. Andrew Tang was the winner of the match. He played some great bullet, but in this game, it was what made it a close match after all. So here are your final scores of the day's action. You see on the third row there, Andrew Tang wins by a point. The other matches, they were a little more spread out. Minh wins by 3 over Sedwani. Anamaya, though, Hikaru Nakamura and Daniel Naroditsky, they were on fire.
Absolutely, Robert. They dominated those matches, and I'm really looking forward to see how they're gonna take on their opponents in their next matches. Tomorrow we have the losers bracket, and let's pull up this bracket. Who do we have tomorrow?
Well, we have our matches set. We will have Jose Martinez, Jacobson, taking on Alexei Sarana. We have Sedwani taking on his compatriot and friend, Arjun Erigesi. We have Ray Robson and Alexander Bortnik. They'll be duking it out. And we have Brandon Jacobson, who will look to recover from, I mean, there's no other way of putting it. That was an absolutely crushing defeat against Hikaru Nakamura. And then he plays against Fabiano Caruana tomorrow.
Yeah, those are some really exciting matchups. Once again, all those players are like the top bullet players, and they are here. Obviously, they deserve to be in this tournament, each one of them. And all those matches are really promising to give even more exciting matches to come.
Absolutely. And speaking of excitement, I think everyone has been excited about the Rapid Chess Championship. It continues this weekend, as it does every weekend when there's not something getting in the way. It will feature the top 100 players in the world, top 10 women, top 10 juniors. At this point, you know who's competing. Fabiano Caruana has won 2 finals. KOs. He then lost to Levon Aronian in this past weekend's matchup. So Hikaru Nakamura, he's been a mainstay in the bracket stage as well, competing for so much money, 20 grand every single week, 650 grand throughout the season. Of course, there will be a grand finals in August, but we need to conclude our show today. Anamaya, was the Bullet Chess Championship presented by DigitalOcean. I had an absolute blast covering the action with you.
Me too, Robert. It was absolutely amazing. The matches were so exciting. There was fireworks all over the place. We had 2 lopsided matches, but we definitely had a lot of fun. I hope the chat also, everyone at home, enjoyed watching the games today. Really looking forward to tomorrow's games. And thank you so much for watching, everybody.
And again, thank you, Anamaya. Thanks to everybody. As Anamaya just shouted you out, our producer, Matt. So we're going to say goodbye for now, but we'll be back tomorrow for more from the Bullet Chess Championship presented by DigitalOcean.
Hey, Carl.
Hey, Todd.
Deborah says you're working on a fancy app or something.
You know, hold on. Not really working on it yet. I just don't know which cloud service to go with.
Well, I've got a cousin on my queen's side that swears by DigitalOcean. Says they're easy to use, have straightforward pricing, and really focus on making developers happy.
DigitalOcean, huh?
Why is it?
I'm gonna check them out.
What the hell? Dude, how are you doing that?
I'm not.